A dark-haired woman in a dungeon cell calls out for Sister Joanna. Weeping, she clutches the bars and begs to be let out of here. A blonde woman appears outside the cell, noting her lack of remorse. She declares this is punishment for hurting Nicholas, and it isn't enough. The prisoner looks up defiantly, stung by the insult about her mother. She screams that she did nothing wrong, yelling that he mocked her appearance. The blonde woman coldly asks if being mocked wasn't only natural. The prisoner falters, admitting she didn't choose to be born looking this way. With a cruel smirk, the blonde woman suggests that she should just die. She walks away from the cell, laughing sadistically at the prisoner's despair. The prisoner reveals a dagger, questioning what she did to deserve this. Overcome with rage, she holds the blade to her hair and screams that she hates everything. She declares that if death is what they want, she will die. With tears and a crazed smile, she vows to curse everyone as she dies. Her dark, maniacal laughter echoes as the scene fades to black. A new consciousness awakens in the dark cell, wondering, where am I? Lying on the stone floor, she recognizes the scene as a prison from a game or movie. Zap! A flash of red energy surges through her, causing her to cry out in pain. She looks at her hand in confusion, startled by the sudden jolt. A mysterious black mark on her wrist glows brightly before fading away. Horrified, she wonders what just happened and why she is holding a dagger. She sees the severe bleeding from her wrist and knows she must stop it immediately. Feeling dizzy, she resolves to apply pressure and looks around for anything useful. She uses the dagger to tear a long strip of fabric from her dress. She begins to wrap the makeshift bandage firmly around her bleeding wrist. Using her teeth, she pulls the bandage tight to create a tourniquet. She looks down at her bandaged wrist, relieved that the bleeding has finally stopped. Thinking clearly, she decides to elevate her wounded arm on the nearby bed. Resting against the hard cot, she lets out a long, shaky sigh. She touches her hair, surprised to find it is much longer than she remembers. Memory flashes of a modern cityscape, recalling her life as a nurse in Japan. She remembers a suite. She recalls leaving her night shift, buying a dessert, and her phone ringing. Ring ring. Crash! The blinding headlights of a truck are the last thing she saw. A crowd gathers at the scene of the accident as someone yells for an ambulance. A close-up shows the pear tart she had bought lying smashed on the ground. She realizes that when she awoke, she was holding a bloody dagger instead of a pear tart. A disembodied voice reveals that the owner of the body she's in is named Alicia. She learns her full identity. Alicia Clarissa d'Argent, a princess. Her father is the king, a grim-looking man seated on his throne. Her mother was a foreign-born courtesan, which was the source of her low status. Alicia's memories show she was neglected by her father and scorned by her sister. The abuse twisted her into a cruel person who took her anger out on the weak. One day, after being insulted by a man named Nicholas, her fury boiled over. Calling him an outsider, she grabs him by the collar and shoves him backward. The narration explains she pushed him down the stairs for mocking her dark hair. As others rush to the injured Nicholas, the future king, Alicia is seized. For her crime, Alicia was thrown into the dungeon where she now resides. The reincarnated soul reflects on the strange feeling of having memories that aren't her own. She connects the two lives, realizing she died in Japan and was reborn as Alicia. A woman questions if this is a dream. Confused, she looks around the stone room. A knight in armor commands her to come out. She is solemnly escorted through a lavish hall. She anxiously wonders what her sentence will be. Cuffed, she worries about treating an infected wound. A purple-haired man sighs as she is led past. He watches her with a stern, silent gaze. She politely asks a guard for medical treatment. The guard denies her, stating His Majesty is waiting. The large doors close, revealing she is in shackles. She enters a vast throne room to face the king. The king sits in solemn judgment on his throne. A blonde, noble couple watches her with disdain. As she enters, she wonders if they are Alicia's family. The blonde man recoils in terror at the sight of her. The blonde woman claims Alicia's face has traumatized him. Alicia flinches as her name is shouted with contempt. The blonde woman yanks her hair, accusing her of pushing Nicholas. She forces Alicia to her knees, demanding an apology. Ouch! The public humiliation continues before the entire court. Alicia smirks, privately admitting the accusation is true. Alicia feigns concern for Nicholas, but the blonde woman furiously rebukes her for daring to speak of him. As the woman scolds her for not knowing her place, Alicia thinks back on her past life as a nursing intern. She recalls that nurses are used to being yelled at by angry people, a common experience for students and new employees. The blonde woman screams, demanding to know if Alicia is even listening. The king finally speaks, addressing Alicia by name. He reminds her Nicholas is the future king, but she internally questions if he is aware of this fact. Alicia acknowledges to herself that the previous owner of her body did indeed harm others, a potentially major incident. Remembering being unfairly scolded as a nurse, she recalls thinking, I didn't do it. Facing the king, Alicia fully accepts the blame for her actions and says she will receive any punishment. The king states that her admission of guilt will not change her punishment. The king announces her sentence. She will marry Emperor Clifford of the Austrian Empire. Stunned, Alicia wonders what kind of punishment a marriage is and where she is being sent. She realizes the Austrian Empire was an enemy nation until recently, and concludes that she is being sent as a political hostage. The blonde couple smirks as the woman remarks how fitting the punishment is. Standing alone, she contemplates the reality of marrying into an enemy nation. She realizes this is a chance to escape her treacherous family and become the empress by winning the emperor's favor. With newfound determination, she believes her patience, honed from her time as a nurse, will see her through. A map reveals the Arjun Kingdom and Austrian Empire are neighbors who have been at war for a long time. Due to severe damage on both sides, a fragile armistice agreement was recently signed. The newly crowned Emperor Clifford is known as cold-blooded, having executed his brothers for treason to seize the throne. Rumors persist that he fabricated the crimes and even executed his closest associates to consolidate his power. His power is absolute. Even his mother, the Empress Dowager, is confined under the pretext of illness. A new tradition dictates that, upon ascension, the emperor must take 13 consorts. A royal carriage begins its journey through a cold, snowy landscape. Her purple-haired escort advises Lady Alicia to catch the emperor's eye, as he has no consorts yet. He stresses that all 13 consorts are arriving at once, making her first impression critical for success. Alicia realizes she's in a polygamous survival game, especially after learning the emperor will divorce all consorts once a crown prince is born. Her escort warns her that questioning the emperor's past will result in an immediate divorce. Alicia sweats, questioning if she can ever return home. Her escort asks if she truly believes she can, and she internally admits no. He explains that failing to become empress means she will be exiled. Slap! He calls her a magicless royal, and she internally remarks on his harshness. She confirms to herself that she is completely incapable of using magic. While everyone else uses convenient magic, she has none, the very definition of incompetence. No! Facing the Grim Reaper, she realizes exile means death and resolves to survive. She turns with a smile, extending her hand to her escort for a truce. As he seems to ignore her gesture, she wonders if he's snubbing her. He turns to her and states his name, Diluc Olcott. Confused, Alicia wonders if his name is Duke. Diluc smirks, realizing she doesn't remember him at all. He explains he is from the low-ranking Olcott family whose lands she confiscated. Now an attendant, he reveals he has been exiled from the kingdom alongside her. The memory hits her with a jolt as she exclaims, I remember! She recalls the original Alicia, cruelly taking his family's land over something as trivial as their clothes. Remembering how Alicia preyed on those of lower status, she realizes she must have countless enemies. She bows her head, offering a sincere apology to Diluc Olcott. Diluc is visibly stunned by her sudden apology. Bowing low, Alicia admits her fault and doesn't ask for his forgiveness. Instead, she asks that he stay by her side from now on. He quietly agrees, stating his intention to do so. As their carriage rolls on, he affirms that it is his duty. The carriage makes its way through a desolate, snow-covered mountain pass. Arriving at a massive wintry palace, an attendant announces Lady Alicia's arrival. Now, in a formal white gown, Alicia is led into the palace, offering her thanks. Seated alone, she grows nervous, about to meet the infamous cold-blooded emperor. She notes that Diluc thoughtfully prepared a dress for her matching the emperor's colors. A blonde woman in a pink gown asks if she too is waiting for the emperor. The smiling blonde woman radiates an air of nobility and grace. Awestruck, Alicia thinks to herself that the woman is a true princess. The woman recognizes Alicia is from Arjun as Alicia looks down modestly. The woman introduces herself as Wendy von Hampson, honored to meet her. Wendy claims the emperor is wearing white and suggests Alicia should change her dress. Alicia questions this, but Wendy feigns ignorance, hiding a smile behind her fan. Wendy then declares she'll change into a white dress, thanking Alicia for the tip. Watching her leave, Alicia wonders if she's being bullied, recalling similar sabotage from her nursing days. She sighs, realizing manipulative people exist in every world. Wendy von Hampson smirks, pleased with her successful deception. An attendant finally summons Alicia Clarissa d'Argent to enter the throne room. It's finally her turn. Though she's last, she's determined to be remembered. Flutter, waving off death, she vows to make a great first impression as the grand doors open. She enters and sees the Emperor on his throne, alone at the far end of the hall. Her eyes widen in sudden, shocked realization. The Emperor is indeed wearing white, but looking at the other consorts, she sees the problem. The other women, all in colorful dresses, stifle their laughter at her expense. She stands alone in white, the only one tricked, while the other 12 consorts watch. Wendy hides her triumphant giggles behind her fan, her scheme a complete success. The Emperor speaks from his throne, acknowledging he accepted a consort as a symbol of their truce. He questions their intentions, while Alicia can only wonder how she's supposed to know. The Emperor concludes the rumors are true as Alicia panics, wanting to ask who told him. He states that only the Empress can wear clothes of the same color as the Emperor. Shocked, Alicia realizes their cultures are completely opposite. Ah, she glances at the other consorts, finally understanding the trap. Hee hee, hee hee. Wendy von Hampson giggles triumphantly behind her fan. Alicia realizes Wendy knowingly deceived her and that all the other consorts are enemies. Resolved to clear the misunderstanding, she deeply apologizes for her lack of knowledge. She explains that in her homeland, Argent, matching colors signify submission, but this is the Empire. The Emperor looks on, with an expression of clear disdain. Alicia feels hopeless, believing any explanation she gives will sound like a useless excuse. The Emperor suddenly asks if someone set her up. He smirks, questioning if she plans to claim she was deceived. Her gaze falls on Diluc Olcott, the man whose family lands she confiscated. The shocking truth hits her. It was Diluc who chose the dress. She reasons that with no time to check customs, she couldn't have known. She notes that suspiciously no one from the Empire pointed out her mistake. The Emperor tests her, asking if she will sacrifice someone to clear her name. She wonders if he expects her to shift the blame, and if doing so would earn his forgiveness. Deciding against it, she accepts the blame for her own ignorance, knowing forgiveness won't come easily. She kneels, offering no excuses and sensing that she is being tested. The Emperor quietly asks, "Is that so?" He coldly dismisses her, calling her unpleasant and ordering her to leave his sight. Yes. Humbled, she bows her head in acceptance. As she exits, the other consorts mock her, declaring one person has already been eliminated. She stands alone and defeated outside the grand throne room doors. Diluc calls out to Lady Alicia, his expression one of shock and concern. She walks past him without a word, leaving him in stunned silence. He asks why she didn't blame him, questioning if it was an act of mercy. Haha. She smiles sadly, explaining that neither of them knew the custom. Diluc grimly accepts that there was no other choice. Sigh. Alicia agrees, knowing any excuse would have made a poor impression on the Emperor. Looking up at the palace ceiling, she wonders how she can possibly recover from this. Their carriage travels through the snowy mountains once more. Diluc helps Alicia step down from the carriage. Standing in the snow before a small estate, she asks if this is where they're staying. She looks at the modest building in disbelief, questioning if this is truly a palace. Diluc confirms that this is the Bezel Palace. A hand wearing a simple ring is shown before a grand palace. Another hand appears, this one with a large purple gemstone ring. Multiple hands with jeweled rings are shown as it's explained the rings signify the consort's ranking. The vision of the grand palace continues. A plain silver band is revealed to be her ring, signifying the last place rank of Bezel Palace the 13th. Alicia explodes in frustration, furious that her ring doesn't even have a gemstone. She composes herself, apologizing for getting carried away, as servants unload their luggage. She despairs, hated by the Emperor and starting in last place. A passing servant rudely bumps into her, prompting her to complain about their disrespect. Feeling her future is bleak and already over, she senses the Grim Reaper's presence. Inside her new home, she observes that nothing is properly managed. Ha! A yawning servant confirms her suspicions that the staff is completely unmotivated. Realizing she'll be exiled if she fails, She resolves that she must do something to survive. Staring at the aloof emperor, Alicia thinks about her temporary husband and hates it. She recalls how rumors of the cold-blooded emperor nearly killed her with fear. Realizing his good looks don't matter, she worries about getting along with him, knowing failure means exile and death. Enough, she declares, steeling herself by remembering she's used to being disliked by her superiors. Shoo. She recalls how people in her past life as a nurse actively avoided her. With a tear in her eye, she resolves to turn things around by recalling a past life coping mechanism. In her past life, she would calm herself by indulging in all kinds of sweet desserts. A blissful smile spreads across her face as she remembers how important sugar is. Clasping her hands together, she decides that something sweet is exactly what she needs. Her mind conjures an image of tea and cookies. She looks around the empty room. Confused, her attention is drawn to a framed painting on a dresser. She looks closer at the painting of a quaint estate, a spark of recognition in her eyes. Turning to a brown-haired maid, she politely asks a question. The maid dismisses her, claiming to be busy, and Alicia notes her blatant disrespect. Fuming, Alicia laments her rock-bottom status as the consort who angered the emperor. Pointing at the frame, she asks the maid if the painting is of Bezel Palace. The maid confirms that it is indeed Bezel Palace. She explains that the previous noblewoman put great effort into growing plants in the area. Alicia's face lights up with understanding as she exclaims, "I see." Tap. Alicia suddenly turns and leaves, surprising the maid, who watches her go in confusion. Outside, Alicia pants as she trudges through the deep snow. She falls to her knees and begins digging frantically in the snow. Her eyes widen as she discovers something beneath the surface. Ugh! She pulls a large vine of sweet potatoes from the frozen ground, amazed by the size of her find. Diluc Olcott appears, shocked, asking what on earth she is doing. He demands to know if she's lost her mind, but she just smiles and tells him to look. She gleefully shows off her discovery, chanting about delicious sweet potatoes. Diluc looks utterly bewildered, asking what a sweet potato even is. Holding the plant, Alicia realizes this kingdom doesn't eat sweet potatoes, and they were only decorative. She promises to make delicious roasted sweet potatoes, but Diluc recoils, calling the vegetables gross. With a flash of inspiration, she declares she has a great idea and will do that instead. Back at the snowy cottage, a voice welcomes someone named Emma and asks about her trip. The brown-haired maid, Emma, reports to Alicia that she was unable to buy any sugar. Emma explains that sugar is too expensive for the money she was given and unavailable at local stores. Taking the small pouch of other goods, Alicia says she understands. Looking at the eggs and milk, she deduces that sugar must be an incredibly valuable commodity here. She holds the groceries, her expression determined despite the lack of sugar. Alicia thanks Emma for her effort and tells her to warm up by the stove. With a cheerful thumbs up, she announces she is going to borrow the kitchen. Alicia enters the estate's kitchen, where 3 maids are already gathered. The maids immediately begin whispering, questioning why a consort and princess is in the kitchen. One maid recalls how they all panicked and rushed to clean when she entered unexpectedly. Emma complains to the others that Alicia's sudden request to buy milk and eggs was a hassle. Alicia turns to the maids with a smile, asking Emma for help. She asks how to use the stove, and Emma explains it requires magic, but there's not much power left. Alicia admits she has no magic and asks Emma to light it, leaving the maid speechless. Grab. Emma seizes Alicia by the shoulders, shouting in disbelief about her lack of magic. When Alicia asks if it's really that strange, Emma admits she's never met anyone who can't use magical tools. Emma stares in dismay, concluding that the new consort is utterly hopeless. She ponders how an incompetent girl like her could ever become empress to the most powerful magic user in the empire. Alicia watches with displeasure as another maid yawns lazily. At Alicia's request, Emma places her hand over the stove, summoning a glowing magical glyph. A ring of blue fire ignites, and Alicia marvels that the fire really lit up. Amazed that it's just like a gas stove, Alicia enthusiastically. Thanks, Emma. Alicia gushes that magic can do anything, while Emma thinks her amazement is strange for someone who can't use it. Emma suggests that praise should be reserved for incredible things, like His Majesty's ice magic, or a healer's power. Learning that magic has many types, Alicia is told that power is directly tied to the nobility of one's lineage. Alicia sweats nervously as Emma inwardly questions if this magicless consort is even royalty. She now understands why she was treated so poorly, In a world where magic is everything, royalty without it is unheard of. Tap, tap, tap. Undeterred, she begins skillfully chopping the sweet potatoes into thin strips. Emma is impressed that Alicia knows how to use a kitchen knife, even without magic, and asks what the yellow ingredient is. After cutting the sweet potatoes into a large pile of sticks, Alicia declares that this should be enough as the maids watch. Sizzle! The sweet potato sticks are dropped into a pan of hot, bubbling oil. As the maids watch, Emma notes that it smells surprisingly good. A strainer full of golden brown fries is lifted from the pan, dripping with oil. Announcing her next step, Alicia turns to the three curious maids. She dashes off, telling them to wait a moment longer for it to be finished. Returning with 2 pots, she shivers and complains that it's really cold outside. As the maids watch in confusion, she adds the contents of the pots together. It's done. She triumphantly presents the finished dish to the stunned maids. The dish is revealed to be sweet potato fries with ice cream. A plate of fresh fries and 2 scoops of ice cream is shown. She explains that while there's no sugar, the sweet potatoes themselves are quite sweet. She adds that the yellow ice cream also contains sweet potato, making it even sweeter. She points, indicating the sweet potato base she used for the ice cream. One of the maids asks how to eat it, and Alicia says, "Ah, right." She demonstrates by picking up a single crisp fry from the plate. She then dips the warm fry into a scoop of cold ice cream. As the maids watch, she happily takes a bite of the dessert. Her face lights up with pure, blissful delight from the taste. She marvels that the sweet potato is sweeter than she expected and doesn't need any sugar. Raving about the amazing contrast between the warm fry and cold ice cream, she feels she could eat it forever. She turns to the maids with a bright smile, offering them a taste. Emma hesitantly reaches for a fry dipped in ice cream. Crunch! She takes a bite of the offered treat. Her eyes snap open in utter shock and disbelief at the flavor. The other maids are startled as Emma freezes, completely overwhelmed. After a moment of stunned silence, Emma stammers that it's delicious. Alicia asks if she's right, and Emma agrees that it's both sweet and warm. Emma giddily confirms that the sweet potatoes are incredibly tasty. Devouring another fry, Emma declares it's the most delicious thing she's ever had, and praises the ice cream's interesting taste. Smiling, Alicia offers the plate to the other 2 maids so they can try it too. She explains that sweet potatoes are great for skin because their protein preserves vitamin C, and they're rich in fiber for digestion. The other 2 maids eagerly take their first bites of the unique dessert. Delicious. All 3 maids are overjoyed by the incredible taste. Alicia watches them, reflecting that until now, desserts were always a treat just for her. A warm, genuine smile spreads across her face as she enjoys the shared moment. Stomp Dialog suddenly arrives, startling the group. Dialog looks on with a dark, weary expression, sighing in exasperation. Alicia offers a questioning smile as Dialog asks if she's forgotten her situation. He reminds her that she was banished to Bezel Palace for incurring His Majesty's wrath. She nervously insists she remembers, but pleads for a single moment of happiness. Dialog sighs as Alicia lowers her head, looking properly chastised. Crossing her arms, Alicia closes her eyes with grim determination. She anxiously imagines the cold, silver-haired emperor looking down upon her. Lying in the snow, she despairs over her fate, thinking she can't fight the emperor, but failing to become empress means being exiled and dying on the streets as a useless, magicless commoner. Back in the present, Alicia thoughtfully watches the 3 maids happily enjoying her dessert. Slap! She slams a sweet potato on the table, exclaiming, "This is it." Holding up the sweet potato with a grin, she declares she will take it and charge in. Dialog is utterly baffled, asking what she could possibly mean by charge in. Alicia covers her mouth with a slight cough, looking away from Dialog sheepishly. She brightly clarifies that her charge in strategy is actually an apology plan. She explains her theory that the emperor is frightening because he needs sugar, so they'll offer him a snack while apologizing. Dialog asks if she thinks it will work, and Alicia declares they have to make it work. She explains that sweet snacks are rare in the Empire, with only dried fruit and sweet wine being common. She fantasizes about her reputation skyrocketing as she, Lady Alicia, becomes celebrated as the best in the Empire for creating rare desserts. With a confident smirk, she clenches her fist, absolutely certain her plan will work. Alicia turns and asks Emma if she happens to have a steamer, leaving the maid confused. When Emma asks what a steamer is, Alicia realizes steamed dishes are also unheard of. Ah, declaring the snack will be even better now. Alicia frantically begins working, shocking Emma, who yells in protest. Her first step is to grab a large, empty pot. She explains the idea is to let steam cook the food without it touching the water. Dilek and Emma look on, completely mystified by her cooking method. She prepares the ingredients, whisking a bowl and dicing sweet potatoes. The preparation continues with a bright, sizzling sound. Lifting the lid from a steaming pot, Alicia announces that the food is ready. The finished dish is revealed, fluffy, steamed buns filled with sweet potato chunks. Dilek and Emma hold the strange buns, looking at them with hesitant curiosity. Emma's eyes sparkle as she marvels at how incredibly soft and wobbly the bun is. As Alicia watches with a gentle smile, Emma takes a huge bite of the bun. Her eye snaps open in a moment of pure, delicious shock. The other maids watch, stunned, as Emma exclaims that it's unbelievably delicious. Alicia smiles warmly and offers the tray of buns to the other overjoyed maids. As the maids rave about the sweet, fluffy buns, Dilek silently glances at the scene. Noticing Dilek has turned away, Alicia asks him if something is wrong. He turns back with a faint blush, quietly admitting that it's delicious. Alicia's face lights up with a brilliant, triumphant smile. The scene shifts to the grand, snow-covered exterior of the royal palace. Now in a formal gown, Alicia stands beside Dilek in a lavish hall, holding her basket. They approach a long line of officials, and Dilek comments on its length. Thud! 2 guards cross their spears, blocking the way forward. A gray-haired official stops them, and Alicia asks why a consort must stand in line. She protests, stating she already submitted an official request for a meeting. The official states the emperor is busy and everyone must wait, which Alicia finds ridiculous. Walking to the back of the line, she compares the experience to a hospital waiting room. Dilek clarifies that the line leads to the emperor's office, not an audience room. He explains the line is long because His Majesty personally hears every single report. As Alicia yawns, Dilek adds that he worries the emperor might collapse from overwork. Dilek looks down at Alicia with concern. He asks if she's still worried about the emperor after his cruel treatment, recalling his harsh dismissal. Alicia smiles brightly, saying it's best if no one gets sick from overwork. Flustered, Dilek thinks he's being swayed by her strange kindness. Thump thump, the line shuffles forward as someone calls for the next person. As they advance, Alicia observes that the atmosphere is growing tense and everyone looks nervous. Dillashaw explains it makes sense, considering the stern, silver-haired man they're about to face. Alicia nervously grips her basket's handle, admitting she's scared too. Bang! A loud noise erupts from the office, startling them both. Alicia instinctively rushes toward the door, and Dilek calls out her name in alarm. Thud, a hand grabs her wrist, pleading for her to wait. The gray-haired official scolds her for trying to enter without permission, and Alicia apologetically calls it a habit. The official looks at her, utterly baffled by her response. Ladder! The grand doors to the office suddenly swing open. An official grovels on the floor as the guards look on in shock, crying out to His Majesty. Mustached official begs for the emperor to stop as Alicia peeks from behind the door. The silver-haired emperor stands surrounded by massive, menacing shards of ice. Peeking from the doorway, Alicia stares in awe and fear, wondering if this is magic. The emperor coldly states his frustration with someone's incompetence. Whoosh! He raises his gloved hand with lethal intent. With furious eyes, he declares he must order the annihilation of the opposing faction. His furious declaration to annihilate the opposing faction echoes with chilling finality. Eek! The terrified official collapses to the floor as the emperor stands over him. Hiding behind the door, Alicia realizes with dread that he's angrier than ever. The official begs for mercy, reminding the emperor that Lord Evan's son is only 8 years old. Sweating, he pleads that executing a child is far too harsh. The emperor coldly retorts that the boy could become a seed of rebellion if left alive. The official desperately offers to send the boy to a monastery, but the emperor scoffs at his naive plan. He reasons that the boy might later seek revenge for his parents' deaths. Concluding he has enough enemies, he states it's best to nip threats in the bud early. Alicia listens from the doorway, thinking this conversation is absolutely terrifying. She watches him, her fears confirmed. He truly is a cold-blooded emperor. His eyes suddenly shift, and Alicia panics, realizing they've made eye contact. She quickly ducks back, flashing an awkward and nervous smile. Spotting her, the Emperor angrily demands to know what she's doing and orders her to leave. Thud! The doors slam shut, and the official announces that the audience has ended. Defeated, Alicia and Diluc stand alone in the now empty hall. Alicia sadly clutches her basket, as Diluc grimly acknowledges their failure. Diluc suggests they return to Bezel Palace, their mission a total bust. From a window, Alicia looks out over the vast, snow-covered palace gardens. She tells Diluc she's going for a quick walk in the garden before returning. Diluc's expression darkens as he suspiciously asks what she's planning. HMPH Alicia puffs her cheeks, insisting she just needs to clear her head. She runs off into the snowy landscape, cheerfully telling him not to worry. Walking a wintry path, she muses that even without flowers, a palace is still impressive. Her walk leads her to a magnificent stone statue of a great stag. The camera pans up the ornate base of the statue, surrounded by blooming red tulips. She continues her walk across a patch of green grass. Finding herself in a lush, unfamiliar part of the garden, she feels she may have wandered too deep. She stops to admire the beautiful marguerites, rosemary, and camellias blooming nearby. Alicia stares in wonder at a patch of ripe, sparkling strawberries. Sitting in a field, she gazes at a grand greenhouse, noting the orange trees inside. While examining a sweet potato plant, she wonders if the nearby strawberries are also just ornamental. A man's voice suddenly startles her, asking what she's doing there. She looks up to see a gardener, with brown hair and glasses, standing over her. Flustered, Alicia jumps to her feet and apologizes for trespassing. Asking if he's the gardener, she turns to him with a bright smile, ready to inquire about the garden. She excitedly points to the red fruit, wondering if they aren't called strawberries here. The gardener seems confused by her question as she notices his basket. She sees his basket is full of harvested strawberries and exclaims that he picked them all. The gardener declares he's throwing them away, but Alicia protests that they're delicious. He asks if they're edible, and she holds one up to confirm, realizing people here don't eat them. The gardener agrees to share the fruit. Calling the Princess of Arjun a strange woman, holding her basket, she realizes with a blush that her identity is widely known. The gardener notices her stare, and she asks if he needs anything else. As a thank you, she offers him a basket of warm, freshly made buns. He asks what they are, and she explains they're sweet, soft, steamed buns. He stares at her intently, leaving her puzzled by his sudden seriousness. The gardener reflects that, while rumors call her evil, he finds her to be more of a strange woman. Alicia becomes flustered, insisting that she was just excited to see the strawberries. Turning away, she tries to continue her explanation. She adds that her excitement also came from how beautiful his garden is. They stand together for a moment in the peaceful, sun-drenched garden. She asks if he takes care of the garden, and he hesitates to answer. She praises his work, saying his garden is wonderful and makes her feel at ease. The gardener looks down, seemingly flustered by her sincere compliment. She thanks him for the strawberries and offers to bring him a dessert she'll make later. Smiling, she says she will make a dessert, though she wishes there was sugar available. As she laments how hard sugar is to find, the gardener's expression grows serious. He informs her that it's natural for sugar to be scarce here, confusing her. He explains that sugar is an import monopolized by her home, the Arjun Kingdom, which imposes high tariffs. Alicia is stunned silent by this unexpected political lesson. A map reveals that Arjun Kingdom's sugar monopoly is a major point of contention with the Austrian Empire, who even fought a war over it. Bowing deeply, Alicia sincerely apologizes for her thoughtlessness. From her perspective, the gardener appears to be a towering, imposing figure. She turns to leave, glancing back at him one last time. The gardener watches as she walks away through the stone archway. He presses a hand to his head as if in pain or frustration. His hair transforms to a striking light blue as he wonders, what is wrong with that woman? Thump. He drops the basket of buns she gave him onto the ground. The scene changes to a cold, snowy day. As Alicia walks through a village, she lets out a weary sigh, her warm breath misting in the frigid air. Suddenly, she's confronted by a man with light blue hair wielding powerful ice magic. The man glares at her, demanding to know what she is doing and ordering her to leave at once. The memory of the gardener explaining Arjun's sugar monopoly flashes through her mind. She realizes sugar can't be obtained because the enemy nation monopolizes its raw material. It's a problem, she understands, that can't be solved simply with money. Looking up at a magnificent tree, an idea begins to form. Believing a sugar substitute will help the Empire, she uses a tool to tap the tree for sap. With a determined smirk, Alicia vows that she will never give up. Alicia announces her return to the snowy palace. Burr, shivering, she complains about the freezing cold. She calls out in surprise, spotting Diluc. She smiles, asking if he waited the whole time. He denies it, claiming he was just going out to see the snow. She smiles, seeing right through his flimsy excuse. "Thank you, Diluc," she says, glad to be back safely. The scene shifts to a warm, crackling fireplace. She relaxes on the sofa, sighing at the comforting warmth. Diluc notes it's getting dark and time for lights. He uses a magical tool to illuminate the room. He reflects that Alicia, being magicless, cannot even turn on the lights herself. A memory of being locked in a dark room surfaces, but she realizes it's not her own. She resolves to change things and forge a new life. Gladder! Emma cheerfully enters, offering a warm drink. She graciously accepts, thanking Emma for her kindness. She holds the warm drink and dried fruit snack. Though it's delicious, she finds herself craving a proper dessert. She decides against voicing her craving, resolving to be careful with her words. Suddenly, she notices Emma staring at her intently. "What's wrong?" Alicia asks, and Emma frantically denies anything is amiss. Emma explains she was just admiring how clear her skin is. Pop! Alicia then points to a blemish on Emma's face. Alicia gently warns her not to touch it to avoid scarring, which makes Emma thoughtful. She suggests sweet potatoes, explaining their vitamin-rich benefits. Suddenly, a brilliant idea strikes her. She'll make something new. She cheerfully announces she's using the kitchen, panicking Emma. After a flurry of activity, she proudly declares she's done. "It's ready," she exclaims, presenting her creation to the amazed maids. She reveals a beautiful platter of strawberries filled with a white cream. Emma accuses her of stealing the rare fruit, but Alicia clarifies she used imperfect ones from the gardener. She explains how she made sugar-free condensed milk. Then she filled the hollowed-out strawberries with it. "It's delicious," she adds, "and also good for skin breakouts." She invites all the maids to try her new creation. Emma is overjoyed, exclaiming how it melts in her mouth. The other maids agree, amazed by the taste. Diluc interrupts the celebration, grimly calling her name. He presents an invitation to the monthly social gathering. She nervously thinks of the ominous social gathering. It's a monthly banquet where all 13 consorts meet the Emperor. She realizes it's a perfect opportunity to make her appeal. The selection of the next Empress will be decided there. She recalls the Emperor's cold dismissal and his demand for her to leave. Despite the memory, she resolves there's still a chance for a turnaround. She decides to use strawberries, but worries the ones she has aren't perfect enough to serve as they are. Holding one, she realizes she needs to find a way to present them. She endures the painful tightening of her corset. Groaning in discomfort, she leans on a chair as the maids ask if she's all right. Crying out in pain, Alicia exclaims she feels like she's dying. As the maid tightens her corset, Alicia clarifies she's not worried about the pain, but the social gathering. Staring at a bottle of golden liquid, she decides to try using maple syrup. The maid is amazed that maple sap can be so sweet. Alicia explains the process of tapping a sugar maple and boiling the sap to create syrup. She considers the Empire's dire situation. A sugar monopoly, held by the warring kingdom of Argent, means a substitute could drastically improve the Empire's finances. Realizing maple syrup could give the Empire a strategic advantage, she hopes to impress the Emperor and begin mass production. Imagining herself as a crowned queen, she resolves that this time, she will succeed. Squeeze. Her confidence wavers as she hopes for success while wincing from the tightening corset. Now fully dressed in an elegant red and gold gown, Alicia stands ready. Diluc arrives to inform Lady Alicia that everything is prepared, and she thanks him. The maid curiously asks if the covered basket contains what Alicia was making yesterday. Alicia confirms it does, explaining she's arranged for it to be served as dessert. Uncovering the basket, she declares her plan to showcase the maple syrup with this dish. The maid gasps in shock at the reveal. A basket full of perfect macarons. Alicia explains that making the powdered sugar for the macarons was the trickiest part. She adds that bruised strawberries were easily repurposed into a delicious cream filling. Holding the basket, she notes that the vitamins in strawberries will please the other consorts, and Emma excitedly brings up the topic of strawberries. Emma beams, declaring that Alicia's previous strawberry dessert has completely cleared up her skin. Alicia expresses her relief. though she privately doubts a few strawberries could work so quickly. She turns and offers one of her new macarons to the stunned maid. The maid eagerly accepts, taking a large bite as Alicia notes her lack of hesitation. Overcome with emotion, the maid bursts into tears, exclaiming how incredibly sweet it is. Alicia explains that maple syrup is a sugar-free sweetener rich in minerals, which the maid finds delicious, even if she doesn't understand the science. Turning to Dialek, Alicia offers him a macaron as well. Dialek silently accepts the treat and takes a bite. After tasting it, he bluntly tells her he doesn't think becoming the Empress will be easy. Alicia is stunned by his direct and pessimistic comment. Dialek harshly lists her past faults, arrogance, lack of consideration, and laziness as the reasons for her exile. He confesses his despair upon being assigned to her, and Alicia flinches at his brutal honesty. He recalls the old Alicia's cruel actions before looking at her now, acknowledging the change. His thoughts reveal that watching her new efforts has given him hope that things might work out. Oblivious to his thoughts, Alicia offers him a brilliant, hopeful smile. Dialek wishes she had changed sooner, and Alicia laughs nervously at his persistent harshness. The scene shifts to a majestic view of the palace under a starry moonlit sky. Now inside a grand hall, Alicia admits to Dialek that she's getting nervous. Dialek reminds her of her earlier confidence and preparations, which she agrees are perfect. She reaffirms her detailed plan, confident that everything will go well. Dialek wishes her luck and says he will wait there as she approaches the banquet hall. Alicia enters the gathering, where the other consorts whisper amongst themselves. A narration explains that the 13 consorts' ranks are based on gemstone palaces, meaning every consort there outranks Alicia. A blonde consort in a pink dress expresses mock surprise that the consort of Bezel Palace attended. Recognizing her rival Wendy, Alicia steels herself as Wendy offers fake pleasantries. An attendant pulls out her chair, and Alicia sighs as she takes her seat at the table. She notices another consort, a woman in a blue dress, looking down with a sad expression. The consort in blue appears deeply distressed, biting her fingers nervously. Suddenly, the consort in blue lurches to her feet, startling the others. Alicia notices the woman's spoon nails and poor complexion, diagnosing her with anemia before standing with renewed purpose. As she quickly walks out of the hall, Dialek calls out, asking what's wrong. Alicia urgently grabs Dialek, a look of sudden realization on her face. As the distressed consort walks away, Alicia remarks to Dialek that she doesn't look well. Thud, the consort collapses, and Alicia cries out, realizing the situation is serious. Dialek grabs Alicia's arm, stopping her from rushing forward. He angrily questions her actions, reminding her the social gathering is about to begin, but she recalls her purpose for being there and hesitates. She breaks free from his grasp, declaring that a person's life is more important, and this is a medical emergency. The collapsed consort groans in pain on the floor. Dialek confronts her again, demanding to know what she is trying to do as the gathering is starting. Alicia remembers she came for the social gathering, but her resolve wavers. She insists that a person's life is more important, declaring it a medical emergency as she runs to help. "Lady Alicia, what are you doing?" Dialek yells, but she insists it's an emergency and they must react quickly. He argues that healing is a healer's job, so she tells him to call one immediately while she handles things in the meantime. Dialek agrees, promising to bring a healer right away. She gratefully thanks Dialek, counting on him as he rushes off. Kneeling beside the woman, she decides to first check for consciousness, asking if she is okay. She checks for a pulse while calling out to the unconscious consort. Alicia determines that the woman is breathing, but completely unresponsive to her calls. She firmly pinches the back of the consort's hand to test for a pain response. The consort groans and pulls her hand away, showing she can react to stimulation and has some awareness. Alicia mentally assesses the woman's condition on the JCS scale, estimating it to be around 230. She considers the possibility of a brain condition or seizure, given the sudden collapse. A bright light flashes from the back of her hand as she notices something. Suddenly, she realizes the cause could be hypoglycemia. She quickly pulls out her bottle of maple syrup, certain it will help. Holding the woman, Alicia administers the syrup, guessing from her anemia that she has been dieting. The consort slowly comes to, and Alicia feels relieved that her diagnosis of hypoglycemia was correct. Alicia smiles warmly, asking the recovering consort if she's all right now, and the woman confirms she feels much better. The consort asks if Alicia is a healer, but she clarifies that she's a consort too. With a jolt of panic, the consort remembers the social gathering. She frantically asks if it has already started, but Alicia gently tells her she needs to rest more. Alicia helps her sit down, but the consort protests, explaining she's from the Lazuli Palace and is falling behind in the competition, which has deeply disappointed her father. Overwhelmed with despair, the consort cries, admitting she held back from eating just to look prettier. Alicia sympathizes, knowing the Lapis Lazuli Palace is 12th in rank and understanding her anxiety. She reflects on her own dire situation as the 13th consort, realizing she'll be exiled if she fails to become empress, and that she prepared her macarons to prevent that. Getting an idea, Alicia asks the still-recovering consort for her name. The consort gracefully introduces herself as Susanna von Pierron. Alicia acknowledges her with a gentle smile. Susanna thinks to herself that she'd heard the consort from Arjun was a villain and is surprised by her kindness. Alicia laughs nervously, acknowledging that her bad reputation precedes her. Susanna agrees but says that today proved the rumors were just nonsense. Alicia sadly clutches her bottle, feeling she failed to turn her own situation around. The two women sit together, Susanna now smiling brightly at Alicia. Dialog returns with a silver-haired healer in tow, who immediately asks for the patient. Alicia stands up and turns to the newcomer, asking if he is the healer. She begins to introduce herself, but the healer rudely cuts her off, demanding to see the patient immediately. Alicia directs him to Susanna, explaining she had lost consciousness due to hypoglycemia. The healer asks if Alicia is a healer herself, and she clarifies that she cannot use healing magic. He scoffs dismissively, asking if she means the situation wasn't serious after all. She repeats her diagnosis of hypoglycemia, but he waves it off as nothing serious. He glares at her, angrily reminding them that the woman recovered without magic and scolding them for summoning a busy healer for such trivial matters. A man leads Alicia away as she looks back in shock, wondering what just happened. She internally fumes that no matter how busy he is, his attitude is unacceptable. A tiny, furious Alicia declares that she is so angry. The scene shifts to a lavish banquet, panning across elegantly prepared dishes on a long table. A silver-haired man sits at the table with a glass of wine, his expression unreadable. The narration notes that there are consorts who did not attend the gathering. From the silver-haired man's perspective, he observes the other guests seated at the grand table. A blonde woman in a pink dress suggests that the absent consorts must have thought attending was meaningless. A magnificent tower of pink and yellow macarons is presented to the guests. The ladies at the table gasp in surprise, wondering what the dessert is and who prepared it. The silver-haired man scoffs, questioning if it's even edible and refusing to eat something of unknown origin. The scene changes to a beautiful estate under a bright, sunny sky. A man presses a hand to his head in distress, while a maid looks on in silent concern. Alicia clutches her head in frustration, lamenting that after all her hard work, no one even touched her macarons. Her aide consoles the dejected Alicia, explaining that it couldn't be helped since she missed the important social event. She recalls tending to an unconscious consort Susanna, justifying her absence by her duty to provide care. Her aide admits he's surprised, having thought she was more self-centered, while Alicia thinks the original Alicia would have been. Resigned, Alicia decides to aim for the next social gathering, still having maple syrup to use. She reflects on the short harvest window for maple syrup and resolves to find other approaches. She considers other sweeteners, like sugar beets or the very rare local honey. Resting on a sofa with her macarons, the maid asks if this is what she called macarons. The maid looks longingly at the treats, and Alicia seems to notice she wants one. Alicia cheerfully suggests they share the leftovers with others, delighting her maid. As the maid starts to leave with the baskets, Alicia calls out for her to wait. Standing in a beautiful garden, Alicia remarks that it's as lovely as ever. She cheerfully calls out to the gardener as he tends to the plants. He asks why she is here, and she explains she's brought treats to thank him for the strawberries. The gardener looks puzzled as she offers him a small basket. He coldly asks if she really thinks he would accept this, making her falter. She recalls his earlier explanation about the Arjun Kingdom's monopoly and high tariffs on sugar. To reassure him, she asks if he's worried it's poisoned, and offers him a macaron. She happily eats one herself to prove they're delicious while he watches her. She explains she used the strawberries he gave her and encourages him to try one. The gardener remains silent, looking down at the basket she's offering. He suddenly asks why she missed an important social gathering, catching her by surprise. Embarrassed, she admits that despite her preparations, things didn't go well. She thinks to herself that she can't reveal she was caring for Lady Susanna, as it could damage her reputation. A consort's primary duty is to provide an heir, so rumors of poor health would be devastating. Putting on a brave face, she vows to revise her strategy, then realizes she still doesn't know his name. He dismisses the question, but she insists, calling him a benefactor she can't just call gardener. After a moment of silence, he states his name is Dominique. Delighted, Alicia introduces herself and reaches out to shake his hand. He hesitates for a moment, his gloved hand hovering over her basket. Turning his back, Dominique states he won't get close to anyone from the Argent Kingdom. Alicia resigns herself to his rejection, acknowledging her status as a villain from an enemy nation. She leaves the basket of treats for him, suggesting he try them whenever he feels like it. Dominique watches her walk away through the garden arch. He presses a hand to his hat, a troubled expression on his face. Taking off his hat, he reveals his true silver-white hair. He holds a macaron and recognizes the dessert, realizing it's the same one from the gathering he attended. The silver-haired emperor holds a pink macaron, silently contemplating it. He examines the treat, wondering what it's made of, since it doesn't taste like sugar. As he eats, he questions why Alicia would skip the social gathering if she's aiming to be empress. Looking at the empty basket, he realizes with surprise that he's eaten all of them. A memory of Alicia's smiling face appears, surrounded by flowers. Clenching his fist, the emperor decides he must ask her for the reason himself. The scene shifts to a sunny day, where Alicia and Diluc walk through a field of blooming daisies, and she happily declares that spring has arrived. Diluc playfully asks if she plans to eat the flowers, but Alicia insists she can appreciate their beauty. Diluc recalls Alicia's past, where she was obsessed with sweet things, even eating ornamental fruits and raw tree sap. Arriving at a beautiful garden, Diluc expresses his surprise, and Alicia proudly calls it one of her favorite places. They spot Susanna and her male companion standing in the garden. Alicia waves, warmly calling out to Susanna and asking if she had to wait long. Susanna turns and greets Lady Alicia with a joyful expression. The two consorts exchange pleasantries, with Alicia thanking Susanna for meeting her. Susanna thanks Alicia for showing her the beautiful garden. Susanna confides that others often refuse her invitations because of her low rank, and expresses her happiness at finally talking with Alicia. The consorts are ranked by symbolic gemstones, with only one destined to become empress. With Susanna ranked 12th and Alicia last, Alicia sadly thinks she must seem worthless to the other consorts. Alicia notes that while they are rivals, the cold-blooded emperor makes their situation unique. Proposing an alliance, Alicia tells Susanna that the more allies they have, the better, and Susanna happily agrees. Thump. A large figure in imposing boots suddenly appears before them. Alicia looks up with a start, a bead of sweat on her face. It's Emperor Clifford, and Alicia nervously stammers his title. Shocked by his presence, she quickly offers a formal greeting. The Emperor tells her to raise her head, announcing that he has a question for her. He forcefully grabs her chin, making her look at him. Alicia trembles, wondering what he wants, feeling his overwhelming presence is like being devoured, and comparing his fierce gaze to an overworked doctor's. The Emperor questions why she abandoned the banquet with him to do something else. He asks what the sweets she sent to the consorts were made of, and she stammers, trying to find the right words. Leaning in menacingly, he demands to know how she made the sweet treat, causing Alicia to flinch as she remembers hearing he didn't eat it. He confirms he didn't eat it, then asks how she obtained sugar when it's unavailable in the Empire. Alicia looks trapped by his intense questioning. She realizes this could be her chance to promote maple syrup, but the stakes are high. A wrong answer could lead to her execution for colluding with an enemy nation, so she knows she must answer carefully. Suddenly, a voice interrupts, shouting that it was their fault. Susanna steps forward to defend Alicia from the Emperor. Susanna explains that she collapsed and Lady Alicia took care of her, offering to accept any punishment herself, while the Emperor listens silently. The Emperor internally questions Alicia's reason for helping someone else. Susanna bows her head in apology as Alicia looks on. The Emperor turns to leave, stating he won't punish them, but that it's too crowded to talk. As everyone sighs in relief, Alicia reflects on the Emperor's deep mistrust and ruthless past. Watching him walk away, she thinks of him as a solitary person. Later, at a garden table, Susanna remarks on the Emperor's intimidating nature, and Alicia agrees he is strict. Susanna laments that he is still her husband, and worries about her future due to her low rank. Realizing her candidness, Susanna panics and quickly apologizes to Alicia. Susanna gazes gratefully at Alicia, admitting that her presence puts her at ease. Susanna explains her family's territory is on the eastern frontier, where they fight foreign tribes but also get delicious coffee. As Susanna's companion serves coffee, Alicia recalls that the Pierron family are nobles who defend the frontier. Alicia's thoughts continue, noting the Pierron family commands one of the Empire's strongest military forces. Taking a sip of the freshly poured coffee, Alicia exclaims that it smells wonderful. Alicia thanks Susanna and offers her a special dessert she brought. A dessert is placed before a surprised Susanna, who asks what it is. The treat is revealed to be a rum raisin soybean crumble cheesecake. Alicia explains to a questioning Susanna that her restrictive dieting caused anemia and deteriorated her health. Winking, Alicia proudly explains she used healthy roasted soybean powder instead of flour. Susanna is deeply moved, touched by Alicia's thoughtfulness for her. She takes a bite and her face lights up, exclaiming that it's delicious. Continuing to eat, she happily notes the hint of alcohol flavor from the raisins. Alicia is glad Susanna enjoys it and generously offers to share the recipe. Susanna excitedly asks if her knights would like it, and Alicia confirms its protein content is great for muscles. Susanna smiles, thinking how wonderful it would be to make it for her hardworking knights. Blushing, she thinks of how much she would love to make them happy. Crash! A sudden, jarring sound cuts through the peaceful moment. A coffee pot tumbles through the air, spilling its contents everywhere. Looking terribly unwell, Susanna's brown-haired companion weakly apologizes. Alicia looks over in confusion, wondering what just happened. Thump! To the women's shock, the man suddenly staggers and collapses. A voice cries out, "Frederick!" as the man lies unconscious on the floor. The scene shifts to a large, grim infirmary filled with patients in beds. At Frederick's bedside, Susanna worriedly notes his high fever as he coughs weakly. Susanna panics as she sees Frederick's condition worsening with each cough. Alicia comforts a distraught Susanna, reassuring her the court healer is highly skilled. Susanna recalls the healer once completely healed Frederick's injuries, prompting Alicia to ask about a previous incident. As Susanna begins to explain, she recalls a painful memory. In a flashback, Frederick is shown diligently training knights, shouting words of encouragement. Susanna remembers gently reminding Frederick that he can no longer address her as Miss. A narration explains that Frederick is a loyal knight from the Pierron family who followed her. The memory turns dark as a stray sword flies through the air directly at Susanna. Frederick dives in front of Susanna, taking the blow as blood splatters, and she screams his name. In the past, the silver-haired court healer arrived, his glowing hand magically closing Frederick's wound. Back in the present, Alicia assesses Frederick, concluding his old wound is infected, but that he should recover with proper care. The silver-haired healer appears in the doorway, disdainfully asking if it's them again. The healer states with clear annoyance that he was summoned at the request of a consort. Alicia freezes in shock, realizing it's the same rude healer from before. "Step aside. You're in the way," the healer orders brusquely, shocking Alicia. Susanna tearfully pleads with healer Elias to help, who asks if it's the same patient as before. Elias casually dismisses Frederick's condition as a common symptom, stunning Alicia. He places a hand on Frederick, and a complex green magic circle glows around them. As the healing light envelops him, Frederick groans in relief. The healer turns away, declaring that now there's nothing to do but leave it to fate. Alicia confronts him, questioning his irresponsible statement about leaving a patient's recovery to fate. She demands to know the specifics of the magic he just used on Frederick. Elias glares back, curtly stating that he simply cast a healing spell. Alicia presses further, asking if he removed the cause of the fever, warning it will just return. The healer scoffs, telling her she should be grateful he bothered to cast a spell at all. He repeats that recovery is left to fate for patients like this, and Alicia glares in disbelief. Alicia realizes that this world's medicine is primitive, lacking any knowledge of bacteria or hygiene, and relying solely on magic. Looking around, she notices other patients are also feverish, and the bed sheets are unsanitary. Her horror grows as she observes the stuffy, uncleaned room. Feeling like it's an isolation ward, she concludes that the complete lack of hygiene will put Frederick's life in grave danger. Alicia realizes that while healing magic is wonderful, it needs to be supported by proper knowledge, declaring the cause of the symptoms is bacteria from the wound. She confidently states that proper treatment will ensure the patient's recovery, which enrages Elias, who demands to know what a non-healer could possibly know. "I'm a nurse," Alicia proudly declares, as a worried Susanna looks on, thinking that Alicia simply can't leave the patient alone. Alicia recalls her medical knowledge from her past life in Japan, feeling a deep conviction that she cannot just stand by and watch patients suffer. Looking directly at the healer, she formally asks to be put in charge of the patient's care, leaving both Diluc and Susanna in shock. The silver-haired healer glares at her, his voice dripping with venom as he asks what she just said. Diluc quickly steps in front of Alicia to apologize on her behalf, explaining that she has made a grave mistake, which surprises her. He turns to her, urgently whispering for her to pull herself together and stop causing an unnecessary commotion. Diluc internally reasons that it doesn't matter what happens to the attendants of other consorts. Alicia stares back at Diluc, her expression hardening with defiance. She recalls her grim reality. As the lowest-ranked consort, if she fails to become Empress, she and Diluc will both be exiled. Diluc looks at her intensely, asking if she is really prepared to face failure again. But Alicia's resolve is firm, and she declares that she can't just ignore a patient right in front of her. Her determined declaration leaves Diluc and Susanna speechless. Elias scoffs at her, pointing out that she can't even use healing magic. Alicia's eyes narrow with conviction. She may not have magic, but she has the knowledge and skills from her past. Fine, Elias reluctantly agrees, but warns her that if she fails and comes complaining, there will be consequences. He threatens to ensure she is sent back to Argent, and Alicia knows that if she's exiled, she won't survive in this world. But she reminds herself that the patient's life is at stake too. A wave of determination washes over her as she decides she won't run away. With renewed fire in her eyes, Alicia vows that she will make sure to heal him. Later, under a bright, sunny sky, freshly cleaned sheets hang on a clothesline. A short-haired maid named Emma complains about having to wash the healing center's sheets, protesting that it isn't part of her work. Ugh, Diluc, who is also helping, teases her, saying he thought she agreed because she was tempted by Lady Alicia's dessert. Emma blushes, lost in a memory of the delicious dessert that sweetly and tartly tempted her. Alicia arrives carrying another huge basket of laundry, cheerfully asking Emma and Diluc to help with it, causing Emma to groan. Emma asks Her Highness why they have to wash every single sheet, and Alicia explains she's disinfecting them with hot water, because cleanliness is the most important thing when healing an illness. Understanding, Emma asks if healing magic isn't enough on its own. Alicia explains that while magic is wonderful, there's no real solution if it's used without understanding the healing process, unlike those who just leave recovery to fate. She considers that the healing center has no nurses, just a few tirelessly working healers, and realizes that if they can prove their methods help, it could solve the manpower shortage. It dawns on her that the healer named Elias is probably so irritable because he's exhausted from being overworked every day. The scene transitions, showing sunlight streaming through a large infirmary window. Alicia stands in the now spotless ward, thinking to herself that it needs to be kept clean. Cough, cough. She checks on Frederick, placing a comforting hand on his feverish forehead as he coughs. She watches him with concern as his cough worsens, noting that his high fever isn't going down. With no medicine available, she knows her only option is to maintain cleanliness and boost his immune system to promote recovery. But she realizes that if the fever doesn't break, his symptoms won't improve. She must find a way to bring it down. Turning to Diluc, she asks if the ice has arrived yet, but he hesitates to answer. Diluc explains that ice has to be transported from the bingo or ice warehouse, and will take 3 days to arrive, leaving Alicia dismayed. She muses on the irony of a world with advanced magic but no refrigerators, especially since it was snowing just a short while ago. Her thoughts are interrupted as she looks up at Diluc, who stands before her. Diluc apologizes for making her work nonstop, and gently tells her to rest before walking away. As he walks towards a large building, he reflects on how Alicia is always thinking of others. He sighs, exasperated that she doesn't seem to realize the danger she's in, recalling her passionate vow to save Frederick's life. He knows all too well that if Lady Alicia is exiled, he'll be in trouble too. With his mind made up, he walks with purpose through the garden gates. Elsewhere, Alicia sighs deeply, having gone for a walk in the gardens to clear her mind. She looks around and realizes she has somehow wandered back to this particular garden again. Her spirits lift as she smiles, admiring the beautifully blooming ranunculus and hyacinths. A man in a straw hat carrying a basket appears, greeting her as Mr. Dominique and telling her she shouldn't come so often because it's a nuisance. Alicia explains her frequent visits are due to the garden's beauty and a flustered Dominique tells her to do as she pleases. She brings up the healer, surprised to hear Dominique has met him, and he seems shocked the news has spread. Alicia explains her need for fever-reducing herbs, but Dominique replies that such things are for healers to handle. Disappointed that traditional remedies don't exist, she laments her lack of ice, catching Dominique's attention. She explains ice would comfort the patient, and Dominique notes that healing magic similarly cools the body to provide relief. Dominique turns to her thoughtfully, asking if simply having ice will be enough to help. He leans in close, telling a surprised Alicia to keep what he's about to do a secret. Crackle! To Alicia's astonishment, he magically conjures a piece of ice from thin air. She stares in awe as Dominique unleashes a powerful frost magic, forming a large block of ice. Thump. He places the ice in his basket and asks if the amount is sufficient. Dominique sighs in exhaustion as an overjoyed Alicia enthusiastically confirms that it is. Realizing she can use the ice for more than just compresses, she asks if it's okay to take, and he simply tells her to take it. Alicia thanks him and runs off, but he calls after her, wanting to ask about the treat she gave him. She turns back with a bright smile, delighted to hear he ate the macarons. Alicia eagerly asks if he enjoyed them, and he confirms they were sweet, but seems unsure of what they were. Later, she applies cold compresses to Frederick's neck, armpits, and groin, knowing that cooling major arteries is the most effective way to lower his temperature. Looking at a bucket filled with ice and cloths, she hopes this will bring him some comfort. As she gently places a cool cloth on his neck, Frederick weakly thanks Lady Alicia. He sighs in relief, murmuring how good the cool cloth feels against his skin. As she tends to her patient, a voice calls out, "Lady Alicia." She turns to see Dialek has returned, panting heavily as if he's been running. She asks why he's in such a rush, and he replies that he has something that might help her. Dialek presents a small sack, declaring that it's medicine, leaving Alicia stunned. She examines the bags, recognizing the distinct smell of herbal medicine. Opening a pouch reveals tea-like leaves, and she wonders how this is possible when she thought healing magic made medicine obsolete. Dialek explains that he went to the trade market after hearing rumors of medicine from the East. He admits it was sold by a suspicious merchant, but he felt it was a better bet than allowing her to be exiled. Alicia looks at a map showing the thriving trade routes connecting the Austrian Empire to the East. He explains that because healers are rare in the East, a market for medicine exists there. She looks at Dialek, who seems a bit bashful after his explanation. Noticing his mud-splattered boots, she realizes just how much effort he put into finding this for her. With a grateful smile, Alicia tells Dialek she thinks the medicine will be very useful. Dialek is relieved, but cautions that there's a problem with it. To find out what it is, Alicia holds out a pinch of the powdered medicine and asks Dialek to taste it. He cautiously brings a small amount of the powder to his lips. His face contorts in disgust as he immediately covers his mouth. Dialek reports that it tastes like damp mashed grass and has a very strong smell. Alicia grows concerned, realizing the potent taste and smell would be too much for a first-timer. She knows that if Dialek reacted so strongly, the already ill Frederick would find it impossible to take. Seeing her dismay, Dialek sadly concludes that they won't be able to use it after all. But Alicia's resolve hardens as she holds up the bag, declaring, "I'll make it taste good." Elsewhere, the maid Emma hangs freshly washed sheets on a line. She sighs, complaining about her task and wishing she had some yogurt. From a nearby window, the healer Elias watches her work, wondering what they're up to. He recalls Alicia's passionate vow to heal the patient herself. Elias scoffs inwardly, noting that for all her boasting, all she's done is cleaning and laundry. Walking down a hallway, he wonders if she even cares about the patient, but his thoughts are interrupted as someone calls his name. Cough, cough. Back in the sick room, Frederick's condition has worsened, and he struggles with a violent coughing fit. He continues to cough painfully, his face flushed and sweating. Alicia and Dialek watch over him with deep concern as his ragged coughing continues. Alicia gently helps Frederick sit up, explaining it will make breathing easier. He weakly thanks Lady Alicia, who humbly tells him it's nothing. Later, Alicia and Dialek arrive with a covered dish, announcing she has prepared medicine for Frederick. She unveils a beautiful strawberry dessert, calling it a rare cheese parfait. Frederick stares in disbelief, asking if this is really his medicine. Alicia explains it's made with yogurt, which has protein, calcium, and probiotics that aid gut health. He eyes the unfamiliar food skeptically, but she encourages him to try it. Though hesitant, he blushes, admitting it's the most beautiful dessert he's ever seen. He takes his first bite. His eyes widen with surprised delight at the taste. Alicia explains the crushed cookies and yogurt make it a perfect vehicle for his medicine. She reveals she adapted an Eastern method, mixing medicine into food, and hopes the fever reducer works. Frederick is overwhelmed with gratitude that a princess would go to such lengths for him. As Alicia brushes off his thanks, he eagerly takes another large bite of the parfait. He beams with joy, exclaiming that he's already starting to feel better. Dilek pours a cup of tea, noting its antibacterial properties will help prevent infection. The scene transitions, focusing on a bright, airy window. A healthy Frederick now sits up in bed, tenderly holding hands with a tearful Miss Susanna. He apologizes for worrying her, and she expresses her profound relief as Alicia and Dilex watch. Susanna turns to Alicia, thanking her profusely and asking how she can ever repay her. Alicia humbly replies that his recovery is payment enough, impressing Susanna with her modesty. Susanna gushes that she's been using Alicia's recipe and feels much healthier for it. She proudly shows her hands, declaring that even her spoon nails are gone. Susanna radiates pure, healthy joy. It's noted that not only Frederick, but Susanna and Emma are also recovering quickly. Emma cheerfully reports that her skin has improved and her acne has disappeared. Alicia listens to these reports with a thoughtful, slightly concerned expression. Click! A nearby door opens, catching her attention. The healer Elias enters the room, silently observing the cheerful scene. He stares in shock, forced to admit that the patient has indeed recovered. Frederick happily gives all the credit to Lady Alicia. Facing Elias, Alicia confidently confirms that Frederick is correct. Elias scoffs, asking if that's all it took, and dismissing her methods as doing nothing. She calmly details using antipyretic medicine and antibacterial tea, an Eastern treatment method. He incredulously asks if she truly healed the patient with just that. He dismisses her success, attributing the patient's recovery to simple luck. Alicia gestures to the whole room, revealing she used the same treatment on every patient, stunning him. Other patients in the ward are shown looking healthy, smiling, and even flexing. When Elias reacts with utter disbelief and shock, he looks out at the ward full of recovered men, unable to finish his thought. He thinks about how recovery for patients with similar symptoms should have been a matter of luck. He wonders in confusion how they all managed to recover in the same way. Alicia explains their weakened immunity made them vulnerable to infection in a dirty room, so she simply aided their natural recovery. Elias skeptically asks if she secretly used healing magic or hired an outside healer. She smiles sweetly, pointing out how impossible it would be for her to heal a patient he, a court healer, couldn't. Ugh, Elias grimaces, realizing she's cornered him with logic. Alicia praises healing magic, but suggests that adding the right knowledge would allow him to save even more lives. Her words strike a nerve and he mutters, "Knowledge, you say?" Seizing the moment, Alicia brightly offers to work as a nurse. Elsewhere, a council of stern-looking older men listens with serious expressions. A man with long, silver hair sits sternly, having gathered Elias and the other healers. Alicia faces the intimidating group of healers, feeling the immense pressure of their scrutiny. Her expression hardens with nervous determination as she prepares to speak. She begins her lecture on the importance of cleanliness, only to be questioned on why it's necessary. The other healers murmur amongst themselves, dismissing her talk and stating they give up on patients magic can't heal. Alicia realizes with a pang of frustration that they're only listening due to her status as a consort. A voice from the crowd interrupts, asking for permission to ask a question. As a gloved hand raises, a startled Alicia nervously gives her consent. Elias skeptically asks what benefit a nurse could possibly provide to a healer. Alicia explains that nurses would reduce the healer's burden by handling less critical cases with medicine, allowing healers to focus their magic on those who truly need it. A healer aggressively questions her, asking if she's trying to take away their jobs. Startled, Alicia quickly clarifies that a nurse's role is strictly to assist healers under their direct instruction. Her explanation that clearly defined boundaries will prevent any overlap seems to placate the skeptical healers. She then presents them with simplified medical record forms she's drafted, which they accept with curiosity. Alicia uses the forms to prove all the previously incurable patients have recovered, stunning the healers with the news. With a respectful bow, she makes a heartfelt plea for their help. The group of healers, including a pensive Elias, silently review the undeniable proof of her success. Later, Alicia stands alone in a grand empty hall and lets out an exhausted sigh. She laments that the problem isn't her explanation, but everyone's over-reliance on healing magic. She reflects on the world's magic system, where only a select few can wield exceptional powers like healing or ice magic. Her thoughts are interrupted by the sudden appearance of Elias, who has sought her out. She eyes him suspiciously, wondering if he's only come to cause more trouble for her. To her complete shock, Elias asks her to write down her medical knowledge for him, questioning her surprised reaction. He looks at her intently, stating that he wants to hear her ideas in greater detail. A wave of hope and joy washes over Alicia's face at his unexpected request. She quietly confirms her willingness to share what she knows. Elias looks away, a faint blush on his cheeks as he processes her agreement. Alicia gives him a small, heartfelt thank you. With a slight smile, he turns and remarks that she is a very unusual consort. As he leaves, Alicia reaffirms her goal to change the nation's medical culture, despite her lack of official credentials. Dialog approaches from behind, and she turns to ask what he needs. He presents her with a formal invitation to a social gathering. Alicia takes the envelope, her expression turning serious as she realizes its significance. She recalls the fierce competition among the 13 consorts and her own precarious position in the lowest rank. A wave of fear washes over her as she considers the possibility of being exiled. She knows that without magic, exile would mean a slow death on the streets. Clenching her fists, she declares with new resolve that she will attend the gathering. She reflects on her lifelong struggle for survival. She realizes the only way to enact real change is to become the Empress, which requires winning the Emperor's heart. With the Emperor's silhouette looming in her mind, she vows to become the Empress. The scene transitions, marking the beginning of a new chapter. The magnificent royal palace is shown under a starry night sky. Dressed in a stunning red and gold gown, Alicia stands ready for the social gathering. As she enters the banquet hall, she overhears another consort gossiping about her lack of magical power. A friendly young woman, Lady Susanna, smiles warmly from across the room. Alicia gratefully greets Lady Susanna, feeling a sense of relief at having an ally present. A palace attendant apologizes for a past incident where no one ate something. A brilliant pink gemstone necklace sparkles, drawing attention. A blonde consort in a pink dress approaches Alicia with a wide, cheerful smile. Alicia looks taken aback as the consort confronts her, asking why else she would have come to the gathering. The blonde consort smiles dismissively, telling Alicia that's not what she's asking. She calls Alicia's efforts pointless, declaring the Empress has already been decided, which angers Alicia. The blonde consort confidently touches her necklace, reiterating that the matter has been decided. Showing off the garnet jewel, she boasts that His Majesty sent it, choosing her as the highest-ranking consort. Alicia thinks sadly that as the lowest-ranked consort, she didn't receive any gems. The blonde consort continues to gloat with a smug smile. She claims His Majesty even hosted a private banquet for her, leaving Alicia stunned and speechless. Alicia recalls that while the Emperor was rumored to be busy, his free time was a mystery. As Alicia wonders if he's spending time with others, the blonde consort patronizingly wishes her luck. A handsome, silver-haired man in a formal uniform appears, framed by blue roses. He stands at the head of a long table, as all the consorts face him from their seats. The silver-haired man glances sideways, with a cool, appraising look. His gaze travels down the entire length of the table, seeming to land on Alicia. Alicia wonders with a start if she and the Emperor just made eye contact. The blonde consort thanks the Emperor for his invitation, to which he gives a terse reply. Ha! Alicia sighs, feeling overshadowed and distant from the Emperor. She desperately tries to think of a way to start a conversation with him. Suddenly, a voice shouts about an emergency, ordering everyone to move aside. Bang! Healer Elias bursts dramatically through the doors. Alicia is shocked to see him appear at the banquet. Elias looks around frantically, stating that someone must come with him urgently. Alicia watches in confusion, wondering what is happening. He looks directly ahead, repeating his urgent demand. Elias strides past the consorts, his focus fixed on his destination. A bewildered Alicia questions why Healer Elias is here. She realizes with a jolt that he's approaching the Emperor. Elias leans in and whispers something urgent into the Emperor's ear. The concerned Lady Susanna asks about Alicia, wondering if something is wrong. The Emperor calmly tells Elias that they will go to the Rose Palace, As the emperor prepares to leave, the blonde consort protests, but he and his retinue walk out. Alicia stands in shock, questioning the mention of the empress's palace. She looks after the departing group with deep concern. Suddenly, Alicia dashes forward, pleading for them to wait and take her with them. Citing her work at the healing center, she begs to be allowed to accompany them. The blonde consort angrily demands to know what she's doing, calling her presumptuous. The emperor asks if Alicia's claim is true, and Elias confirms she works as a nurse under him, earning Alicia's gratitude. The blonde consort stares in stunned disbelief at this revelation. Alicia offers a deep, thankful bow as the emperor orders her to follow them quickly. Tap, tap, tap. The blonde consort glares after them, her face contorted with silent fury. Alicia walks with the emperor and Elias through a beautiful garden under a full moon. She recognizes the garden, but realizes she's never been in this part of it before. Elias leads them down a path lined with red roses, announcing that they have arrived. Before them stands a grand illuminated mansion, which he identifies as the Rose Palace. Elias opens the large, ornate doors, revealing a lit interior. He leads the way up a grand staircase, gesturing for the others to follow. Alicia looks up the stairs with a mix of awe and apprehension. At the top of the landing, she stops before a beautiful, sunlit portrait of a woman. She observes that the woman in the portrait has the same silver hair as His Majesty. Elias identifies the woman as Empress Dowager Sophia, explaining that she is recuperating here. Alicia recalls the rumors of the Empress's confinement and realizes with concern that she is truly sick. The Emperor, Elias, and Alicia arrive at the Empress Dowager's chamber doors. Inside, a man with a mustache greets them, announcing they've been waiting for His Majesty. The man reports that the Empress Dowager's condition has worsened again, which the Emperor acknowledges gravely. Alicia looks on with deep concern, her hand clutching her dress. In bed, Empress Dowager Sophia struggles to breathe and begins to cough violently as someone calls for a basin. As the older healer helps the Empress sit up, a determined Alicia rushes to assist. The Empress coughs up dark, murky blood, a clear sign of hematemesis. Alicia observes the Empress clutching her upper abdomen, realizing she is in severe pain. The Emperor whispers, "Mother," as he clenches his gloved fist in anguish. Alicia watches him, stunned to see such a pained expression on the face of the cold-blooded Emperor. The Empress's thoughts echo with the overwhelming pain she's enduring. Suddenly, the Empress screams in agony, shocking everyone as Alicia realizes the situation is escalating rapidly. Her eyes widen in alarm as she fears the Empress might be going into shock. Apologizing for her forwardness, Alicia rushes to the Empress's side to begin an examination. The older healer watches in disbelief as Alicia explains she is performing an examination. He protests loudly, reminding everyone that even powerful healing magic has failed. He angrily orders Alicia, a useless consort without magic, to step aside. Alicia shoots him a fierce, determined glare, refusing to back down. The older healer recoils, stunned by her unexpected defiance. Alicia furiously declares that a doctor who gives up hope in front of the family is the truly useless one. The man sputters, shocked into silence by her sharp rebuke. To the man's surprise, Healer Elias steps in and calmly agrees that the consort is right. Alicia quickly takes the Empress's wrist, noting that her pulse is weak. She then checks her neck, confirming that her blood pressure is also dropping. After confirming the Empress is in shock, Alicia gently presses her abdomen, pinpointing the source of pain. Tap, tap, tap. She performs percussion on the Empress's abdomen to assess her condition. Alicia turns to Elias, questioning what kind of healing magic he had performed on Lady Sophia. He admits that he only cast a spell to reduce her pain. Realizing he never treated the root cause, Alicia understands why the illness persists, a fact Elias confirms. A wave of hope washes over Alicia, as she realizes that finding the cause could lead to a cure. Her hope is cut short as the Empress cries out in agony once again. A stark splash of blood illustrates the severity of the internal bleeding. The Emperor looks away, his face pale with worry and distress. A narrative note confirms the Empress is suffering from epigastric pain and is in a state of shock. Alicia watches with concern as the Empress continues to cough weakly. Alicia concludes her examination, declaring that while the Empress is in critical condition, she can still be saved. With newfound urgency, she insists that they must act quickly. She repeats her plea, emphasizing that they must hurry to save the Empress. When the Emperor asks if recovery is truly possible, Alicia confidently diagnoses Empress Dowager Sophia with a gastric ulcer. The term gastric ulcer leaves Elias, the older healer, and the Emperor completely baffled. Alicia realizes their over-reliance on magic means they lack basic medical knowledge and resolves to explain the illness. She begins her lecture, defining a gastric ulcer as an internal wound in the stomach. Using a diagram, she explains the causal factors and stresses that healing the wound itself is the only path to recovery. She clarifies that Sophia's ulcer has perforated, creating a hole in her stomach. Elias quickly grasps the concept, asking if they simply need to seal the hole. Alicia confirms that is the goal, suggesting they use magic to heal the wound directly. The Emperor asks Elias if healing magic can affect internal organs, but Elias admits he has never tried. Elias considers the problem, stating he could adapt a spell if he knew the precise location of the wound. Lacking an X-ray, Alicia racks her brain for a solution until a brilliant idea strikes her. Confident in her drawing skills from her time at a hospital, she quickly sketches a detailed diagram. Alicia presents a cute, hand-drawn diagram of the digestive system. Two men, one with glasses and another with silver hair, watch with skepticism. Alicia explains the stomach's location to an ailing woman with light blue hair. She gently presses on the woman's abdomen, pinpointing the specific area. The woman clenches her teeth in pain, letting out a pained groan. The man with glasses thanks Alicia for her advice and decides to try using healing magic. Green magical energy flows from his hands into the woman's body. The woman writhes in agony as the potent healing magic courses through her. Sweat pours down her face as she endures the intense healing process. Looking relieved, the healer announces that the wound has been healed. Alicia expresses her gratitude while the silver-haired aide quietly acknowledges the result. Puzzled, Alicia watches as the silver-haired aide turns and walks away without another word. He exits the room, his footsteps echoing in the hall. Alicia wonders why he left so coldly, and questions if he was ever worried. As the now peaceful woman rests, Alicia reflects that Elias's healing magic was a success. Alicia learns she is now responsible for nursing Sophia, whose recovery remains precarious. She decides dietary therapy is the only way to help Sophia regain her strength. Alicia hopes that successfully caring for the Empress Dowager will earn her recognition. She smirks, realizing this could also be her path to the Empress's seat. A maid asks a frail Lady Sophia if she is feeling unwell. She insists that meals must be properly eaten at the dining table. After Sophia is seated, Alicia arrives with a cloche, announcing the meal is ready. Sophia scoffs at the porridge, but Alicia explains it's for her weakened stomach. Alicia explains the importance of letting the stomach rest while Sophia looks on, despondent. Suddenly offended, Sophia declares that as royalty, she refuses to eat such plain food. Alicia watches in horror, as Sophia is instead served a rich steak and wine. Sophia forces herself to take a bite of the heavy meal. Cough, cough. She chokes on the food, and Alicia rushes to her side. Two maids help the weakened Sophia from the table, while Alicia watches with concern. Alicia is left alone as Sophia is escorted out of the dining room. Her eyes widen with worry and frustration. She stands dejected in the vast empty hall. Alicia follows at a distance as the maids help Sophia down the corridor. Sophia pauses, looking wistfully out a grand window. Her expression is filled with a deep, quiet sadness. As they look out at the rose garden, Alicia notes Sophia's fondness for it. Sophia smiles faintly, confirming that she does indeed love the garden. Thinking of the roses gives Alicia an idea for food Sophia would genuinely want. She recalls her fierce determination, vowing that a patient can always be saved. The gardener listens in silence from a distance. Alicia approaches the gardener, who wryly notes her return. Smiling, she explains that she has a favor to ask him. He agrees to hear her out, and she thanks him gratefully. She mentions she's caring for Dowager Sophia, which the gardener already knew. The narration explains that Sophia is desperate to resume her normal life. Alicia recalls Sophia's poor health and her prideful rejection of simple food. Alicia nervously asks the gardener if she could have some flowers. The gardener looks at her intently, questioning her plan to use flowers in treatment. Alicia suggests using the garden's flowers for decoration, catching the gardener's attention. She brightly explains that someone special often looks at the garden. Alicia excitedly shares that Lady Sophia looks down with a gentle expression, hoping the gardener's sincerity is felt. Suddenly, a gloved hand presents a large basket to a surprised Alicia. The gardener, Dominique, encourages her to take as many flowers as she wants. Overjoyed, Alicia gives him a heartfelt thank you. He offers even more baskets, but she worries about leaving the garden bare. Alicia happily gathers beautiful red and pink roses into her basket. With her basket full, she waves a cheerful farewell to the gardener. He turns and begins walking away thoughtfully. Gazing at the grand mansion, the gardener thinks of his mother. A cherished memory shows a young, silver-haired boy smiling with his mother among roses. In a painful recollection, a distraught Sophia questions a cruel and ruthless act. The gardener remembers walking away, reflecting on the right to be forgiven. He strides purposefully toward the mansion as dusk settles. Inside, a frail Lady Sophia is supported by a maid in a grand hall. The maid carefully helps the weak and unsteady Sophia. Alicia and a purple-haired man arrive with a wheelchair to escort Lady Sophia. The elegant, red-cushioned wheelchair is presented as a thoughtful gift. Sophia declares she will walk, but Alicia advises her on the proper way to recover. Alicia cheerfully wheels over the chair, suggesting it is a more elegant way to move. Now seated, Alicia tells a settled Lady Sophia that the wheelchair suits her perfectly. Alicia turns with a determined smile, ready to depart. They arrive at a sunny veranda, announcing their destination is reached. Lady Sophia sits quietly at a table, looking out from the balcony. Her gaze lifts as she takes in the view before her. She looks out upon a stunning, sprawling rose garden in full bloom. Alicia correctly guesses that Lady Sophia likes roses. With a gentle smile and a slight blush, Sophia confirms she does. Clatter. A serving cloche is placed on the table, startling them. Lady Sophia looks up in utter astonishment. 3 beautiful dishes, all crafted with a rose theme, are displayed. The man proudly presents the main dish he is most confident in. He reveals a stunning rose jelly dessert, sparkling on the plate. Alicia explains that she made all the dishes soft for easy eating. She adds that the meal's unique presentation rivals even royal cuisine. A warm, genuine smile spreads across Lady Sophia's face. Relieved, Alicia enthusiastically offers to cut the food for her. As she swallows, Lady Sophia thinks to herself, "Thank God." She touches her cheek, deeply moved by the thoughtful gesture. Beaming with joy, Alicia thanks her gratefully. A narration reveals that Lady Sophia finally began eating Alicia's meals. Though Elias reports Sophia's improving condition, His Majesty never visits her. Alicia wonders if he's worried, as she helps a recovering Sophia walk, who gratefully credits Alicia for her quick progress. In the garden, Lady Sophia asks Alicia if she is the Empress of Clifford. Alicia nervously clarifies that she is currently the Empress of the Bezel Palace. Sophia explains the Emperor's absence, stating he is busy with state affairs. She sadly concludes his loneliness must be her fault, recalling a painful memory. The mystery deepens, questioning what happened between mother and son. Alicia watches with concern as a heartbroken Sophia stands among the roses, asking what happened. Lost in thought, a heartbroken Lady Sophia recalls a painful past. Her thoughts drift to the past, as she whispers that it's all her fault. In her memory, a young Sophia recalls living peacefully as a local noble's daughter. Her life was filled with happiness, alongside her kind fiancé, Lawrence. Everything changed when she was unexpectedly chosen as one of 13 candidates to marry the Emperor, a future she never wanted. Fearing a loveless marriage, she desperately begged Lawrence to run away with her. He agreed to her plea, and for a moment, their hands almost touched with promise. But after that night, Lawrence disappeared, leaving her feeling naive and utterly abandoned. Despite being a mere placeholder, she became an imperial consort. She devoted herself entirely to the strict customs and formalities of the palace. She dances with the Emperor, her hand held by his. A gloved hand gently holds hers, a formal but distant gesture. She eventually gave birth to a son. The newborn baby cries in her arms. Believing a prince needed a strict upbringing, she was a harsh mother to her young son. The young, silver-haired boy looks down, apologizing quietly to his mother. She scolds him, insisting her harsh words are for his own good, and questioning his public behavior. Holding his stinging cheek, the young prince tears up from her rebuke. In time, her son, Clifford, grew into a fine young prince. She notes his outstanding contributions during the war with the Arzan Kingdom. In a vision of the past, a grown Clifford fiercely battles on horseback, wielding ice magic. Through his heroic achievements, Clifford began to win the support of the people. She believed he was an excellent crown prince, beloved by all. But that was only the beginning. When the former emperor fell ill, the situation rapidly changed. A brutal succession battle began when the eldest son was poisoned. Blood stains the background as she recalls how Clifford eliminated his brothers one by one. Her memory shows a man being led to a guillotine. He took the throne stained in blood, earning the nickname the Cold-Hearted Emperor. As Clifford became emperor, she was left with a crushing regret. Her greatest failure was that she couldn't teach her child about love. Back in the present, she stands with Alicia among the roses, lost in her painful memories. Alicia watches her with concern. Sophia takes all the blame for him becoming the cold-hearted emperor, feeling she failed to teach him compassion. Ashamed to face him, she still acknowledges his impressive achievement in securing a truce with the Arzan kingdom. Alicia adds that she's heard His Majesty is a remarkably capable person. Sophia admits she once believed everything would be fine, but now she's not so sure. Alicia asks if something happened, then questions if Sophia knows a Sir Evans as a rebellion is mentioned. Alicia reveals that a Sir Dominique was arrested for attempting to assassinate Clifford, leaving Sophia to wonder if it's the same Dominique, the gardener. Sophia explains that Sir Evans was Clifford's right-hand man and a loyal vassal. He was the person Clifford trusted most, and she can't understand the betrayal, a sentiment Alicia shares. Overwhelmed by the news, Sophia admits she collapsed while pondering the situation. Alicia delivers the shocking news. Sir Evans was executed, and his son will be next. Horrified, Alicia exclaims that Sir Evans' son is only 8 years old, deeming his execution far too cruel. Alicia recalls her first audience, where the Emperor asked if someone had trapped her. She remembers thinking it was a test at the time. Now she sees his cynical smile and understands he was mocking her, expecting her to blame others. Alicia realizes the Emperor doesn't trust anyone, and was likely expecting her to shift blame onto someone else. She concludes he is a truly lonely person who toys with others. Seeing no way to turn back, a distraught Sophia covers her face, certain that Clifford will never forgive her. Alicia comforts a crying Sophia, insisting it is not her fault. With a determined smile, Alicia promises she will help both of them. The scene shifts to the grand imperial palace at night. A montage showcases a lavish banquet in full swing with food, drinks, and dancing. An elegantly shod foot steps forward as Lady Sophia attends the event. Guests whisper in surprise, recognizing the smiling Lady Sophia. Alicia helps a radiant Empress Dowager Sophia descend the stairs, shocking the crowd who believed her to be ill. Whispers spread about her being confined by Emperor Clifford, but a woman warns that such careless rumors lead to execution. Other guests murmur in awe, remarking that she doesn't look like she was ever ill. The narrator notes that everyone is amazed by Lady Sophia's timeless beauty as she walks the red carpet with Alicia. Alicia thinks to herself that she is also surprised by Sophia's speedy recovery. The crowd begins to recognize Alicia, identifying her as the Empress Consort from the Arzan Kingdom. A group of ladies gossip, explaining that Alicia is serving Sophia because the Emperor dislikes her and won't let her attend as a consort. Alicia overhears them, thinking to herself that she can hear everything they're saying and that they aren't wrong. Recalling her ban from social events, Alicia is told by Sophia to smile as she is drawing attention. She reluctantly agrees. Sophia warmly greets the crowd, expressing her joy at seeing them all looking healthy. A noblewoman approaches, asking if Sophia has completely recovered. Sophia confirms she is all better, crediting the delicious meals she's been enjoying every day. Intrigued, the noblewomen note that even the gourmet Lady Sophia is satisfied, and Sophia adds that a skilled nurse prepares her food. Everyone murmurs amongst themselves, wondering about this mysterious nurse. The purple-haired man, Elias, stands by with serving trolleys. Clatter. He lifts a cloche, inviting the guests to have a taste. A stunning two-tiered cake, beautifully decorated with edible pink roses, is revealed. The ladies gasp, questioning if Lady Sophia is actually eating flowers. Sophia elegantly plucks an edible rose petal from the cake and eats it, shocking the onlookers. She declares it sweet and delicious as the captivated ladies ask for a bite. The noble women hesitantly try the edible flowers from the cake. Overcome with delight, they exclaim that the cake is as fragrant as perfume. A flustered gentleman asks if he can have a bite as well. Elias serves slices of the amazing cake to the delighted party guests. The guests notice the flavor isn't honey, and Alicia confirms their observation. A woman asks if Alicia brought sugar from the enemy Arzan Kingdom. The guests panic, Realizing the grave danger of using an enemy's monopoly product, Lady Sophia smiles calmly, announcing that the sweetener is not sugar. She proudly reveals that the cake was created by Her Highness Alicia. The narrator states that Lady Sophia has created a crucial opportunity for Alicia. Determined not to fail, Alicia receives a supportive wink from Sophia. A shared thought bubble declares, "Let's do our best." Alicia proudly explains that she made the cake using a sweetener called maple syrup. She presents bottles of the syrup, explaining that its powdered form is called maple sugar. Alicia clarifies that maple syrup comes from sugar maples found within their own country, unlike traditional sugarcane. She announces that this new sweetener can be produced entirely within the empire. Alicia details the distinct flavors, contrasting the sweet sugarcane with the rich, aromatic maple. The guests are amazed, recognizing the unique flavor and the immense potential of mass-producing it domestically. Sophia gives Alicia a reassuring nudge as she nervously responds to the crowd. The scene shifts with a sparkling, ethereal transition. Step. Step. The sound of footsteps causes Alicia to turn around in surprise. She looks up in shock to see Emperor Clifford standing at the top of the grand staircase. The Emperor stares down with a cold, unforgiving expression. He speaks icily, stating he doesn't recall permitting her to attend the banquet. He coldly orders her to leave. The series title and staff credits are displayed. He repeats his question, not recalling her permission to attend. His command to leave echoes in her troubled mind. The crowd whispers, blaming her for coming without permission and angering Emperor Clifford. She sadly remembers that she is prohibited from attending public events. Empress Sophia suddenly grabs her arm. Sophia calmly tells a shocked Alicia to stay quiet. Sophia steps forward, telling Clifford that Alicia attended as her maid because she felt anxious coming alone after her recovery. Sophia urges him to come down from the stairs and speak to his waiting guests. As Clifford remains silent, Sophia reflects on their deeply strained and inharmonious relationship. Alicia realizes she cannot let them remain at odds, recalling how much Clifford once worried about his mother's health. She resolves to create an opportunity for them to finally have a conversation. Her eyes land on a small brazier prepared by a chef, sparking an idea. Here it is, she thinks, zeroing in on the brazier. She startles the chef by suddenly borrowing his pan and spatula. She quickly gathers her other ingredients, starting with flour and milk. She borrows a bottle of brandy from a flustered maid, promising its swift return. The bewildered crowd watches as Alicia seems to be everywhere at once. She holds up her utensils and asks a man named Duke to light the fire. The man with the ponytail, Duke, uses magic to light the brazier. As Alicia whisks furiously, the nobles gossip about a royal who can't use simple magic. She pours a glistening golden liquid into the hot pan. She adds a special ingredient, choosing a flavor meant to help mend the royal relationship. The special ingredient is revealed to be a sparkling, beautiful rose jam. She simmers the maple syrup and rose jam together to create a sauce. Next, she adds quartered crepe dough to the sauce and pours in brandy. Heating the pan on high, she causes the contents to erupt in flames. The guests marvel at the beautiful blue flames, wondering if it's magic, since they thought Empress Alicia couldn't use any. Smiling with satisfaction, she thinks of Empress Sophia and Emperor Clifford. She presents the final dish, a crepe folded into a stunning rose. Sophia is amazed by the creation, but Clifford remains impassive. Alicia explains her choice, noting Sophia's love for roses, which are grown in a garden personally managed by Clifford. Alicia recalls how Clifford once left a party mid-gathering, just to check on his bedridden mother. Empress Sophia looks at her son with a flicker of surprise. Alicia passionately insists that feelings can't be understood unless they are expressed. He scoffs dismissively, asking what she could possibly know about them. Alicia earnestly pleads for them to talk, explaining that Sophia is worried about him. Flap! His cape billows as he turns his back on her plea. As he walks away, both women call out for him, and Sophia stumbles in her distress. The scene shifts to a peaceful, moonlit night sky. Clifford stands alone on a palace balcony under the stars. Alicia appears in a brightly lit doorway behind him. She cautiously enters, asking for a moment of his time. With a pained expression, he tells her to stop meddling, insisting his relationship with his mother isn't what she imagines. His cold dismissal leaves Alicia completely bewildered. A beautiful memory shows a happy, younger Sophia, holding her smiling son among the roses. In the past, a young Clifford runs to his mother, Excited that the violets are blooming, he proudly offers her a bouquet of violets, but she looks down at him with a cold, distant expression. He continues to hold out the flowers as his mother stares at his gift without emotion. Smack! A young Clifford is harshly slapped across the face. His mother, Sophia, scolds him for acting unrefined, and he meekly apologizes. Sophia coldly towers over him, demanding he address her formally as mother. Kneeling on the floor, a terrified young Clifford begs his mom for forgiveness. As she leaves him in the dark room, Sophia reminds him to maintain his dignity as a prince. He desperately calls out to her. Bathed in a single shaft of light, he tearfully promises he was wrong and won't do it again. His terrified thoughts echo in the darkness, pleading for forgiveness and admitting he's scared. Empress Sophia stands impassively, her posture rigid and unfeeling. Huddled in a sunlit garden, young Clifford sobs quietly. He stares at his red, swollen hand, tearfully wondering why his mother is so cold. He looks up as another noble lady, Empress Sophia, appears in the garden and wonders why she is there. Recognizing her as the Empress of Garnet Palace, he bows and informs her that his own mother isn't present. The Empress notices his swollen hands with a concerned expression, realizing he was scolded. She gently takes his hands, expressing her pity for his situation. Overwhelmed by the small act of kindness, he begins to cry again. She comforts him, telling him it's okay to cry as he breaks down completely. His adult self narrates that he couldn't understand his mother's teachings back then. A dejected young Clifford sits alone by a stone well. Nearby, two maids gossip, expressing their pity for Prince Clifford. They speculate that he would have been treated better as the son of a different empress. The maids lament their own bleak futures, having been assigned to the lapis lazuli palace. The gossip continues, dismissing Lady Sophia as merely the 12th empress who will never hold true power. A cruel rumor surfaces, questioning the prince's legitimacy and suggesting he's another man's child. Horrified, Clifford overhears them discussing his mother's failed attempt to elope, concluding she brought her misfortune upon herself. He runs away from the hurtful words, dashing towards the light. He arrives at a different part of the estate, rustling through the bushes. Peeking through the leaves, he watches the scene before him. He sees the Empress of Garnet Palace speaking with a man in the garden. He overhears a cruel suggestion that the child of a suspicious prostitute should just be kicked out. Stunned, he questions the cruel words, wondering what His Majesty could be thinking. The Empress instructs her attendant to burn her gloves, which he confirms he will do. As a vision of the gloves burning appears, the Empress smirks, plotting to tame Clifford so he won't interfere when her own child takes the throne. The memory of the gloves and the insult, a prostitute's child, leaves young Clifford utterly devastated. The scene shows gossiping servants, representing the whispers that surrounded him. The narrator recalls that his mother had a fiancé and tried to elope with him but failed. Because of her past, his position as a prince was always unreasonably low and insecure. A determined young Clifford clenches his fists, calling out to his mom in his thoughts. Adult Clifford reflects that he never resented his mother, realizing everything she did, no matter how harsh, was for his survival. In another memory, a young blonde-haired boy watches Sophia from a distance as she tends to her roses. The blonde boy's mother, a woman with light green hair, reminds him that it's time for his studies. The boy obediently agrees to go, addressing the woman as mother. Back in the present on the balcony, Clifford reflects that without a certain person's help, he wouldn't be who he is today. He looks at Alicia, acknowledging his reputation as the cold-blooded emperor. He continues, stating that that person tried to protect him, and Alicia quietly agrees. Alicia looks at him with gentle eyes, thinking that he truly has a warm heart. But Clifford's expression turns cold and serious as he thinks his next thought. Facing his mother, who has appeared on the balcony, he confesses that he resents her. Empress Sophia stares back, her eyes wide with shock and pain. Clifford looks away, confirming his deep-seated resentment toward his mother. Sophia stands in the doorway, a look of profound sorrow on her face. As his mother turns away, Clifford reflects that he couldn't see her sincerity back then, because his position was never secure. A young blue-haired boy recalls acting as the perfect prince for his mother. To fulfill this role, he had to earn merits in brutal wars against other nations. But gaining power meant being thrust into a violent struggle for succession. After the emperor's death, the court descended into chaos. As nobles fought to put their favored prince on the throne, he was trapped in the conflict. Faced with the guillotine, he knew he had no choice but to win. He became the cold-blooded emperor, ascending a throne soaked in the blood of his siblings. He even executed his own associates, ensuring no one was left to oppose him. He bitterly resents his mother, wishing he could have remained an incompetent, ignorant prince. Alicia realizes with a shock that this man never desired the throne. He only wanted to live, not become a cold-blooded emperor, and resents Empress Sophia for it. Still, Alicia finds it hard to reconcile this with what she knows of Empress Sophia. Her thoughts flash back to the Empress Dowager. In a memory, Empress Sophia tearfully apologizes to a young Clifford. Her face is stained with tears as she looks at her son. Clifford, in turn, offers a gentle, reassuring smile. Watching them, Alicia understands that the two of them truly care for each other. A warm smile spreads across her face as the truth settles in. The scene shifts to a bright morning as Alicia wakes in her bed. She stretches, looking out the window, content after a good night's sleep. Her maid, Emma, enters, noting she's up early, and Alicia wishes her good morning. Emma bows deeply, expressing her relief. Beaming, Emma asks a question, leaving Alicia slightly confused. Emma excitedly asks if there's a chance Alicia could become empress now. Sweating nervously, Alicia admits she hasn't heard anything about it. She reflects that while her relationship with Sophia has improved, her goal wasn't just to avoid exile. A vision of exquisite rose-themed desserts fills her mind. Alicia panics, clutching her head as her maid watches in alarm. The maid internally urges her to make her case properly instead of waiting. She asks if waiting around is really how things are done in the Empire. Flustered, Alicia admits she's not good at asking for things and wishes they would just notice. She frets over whether she appeared shameless. Brushing off the details with a nervous laugh, Alicia tries to change the subject. Emma enthusiastically encourages her to go ask for her reward and bring snacks with her. Alicia considers the idea, thinking that just bringing snacks and talking might be okay. Pushed by her maid, a reluctant Alicia agrees to get moving. Now in her apron, she decides to focus on baking instead of rewards. Surrounded by treats, she wonders what delicious dessert she should make this time. Remembering the gardener, she decides to bring some sweets to Mr. Dominique too. In the kitchen, she asks the Duke what kind of dessert Empress Sophia might like. The purple-haired Duke closes his eyes, admitting he isn't sure. Noticing his strange demeanor, Alicia worriedly asks if he is hurt. He turns away, denying that anything is wrong. Declining a taste test, the Duke excuses himself, saying he has things to do. Sigh, Alicia watches him leave, sensing that something is bothering him. She wonders with concern if there is something wrong with the Duke. The Duke stands alone, admitting his uselessness with desserts before sighing and departing. From behind a corner, Alicia watches him sigh heavily in the hall. As he walks away, she wishes she could help if he has a problem. With a soft tap of her shoe, she decides to follow. Alicia secretly watches Duke go about his duties, noticing nothing unusual about his behavior. In the dining hall, Daya calmly eats his meal. He reaches for the dark bread on his plate. Thump! His fist suddenly clenches beside the untouched bread. A startled maid confronts a panicked Alicia, asking what the Empress is doing there. Alicia waves her hand dismissively, nervously claiming it's nothing. The maid reminds her this is the servants' dining hall, and asks her to speak her mind. Flustered, Alicia claims she had something to say but suddenly forgot. Peeking inside the now empty hall, she realizes with dismay that the Duke is gone. She dashes off, promising to call the maid if she remembers, leaving the girl confused. The Duke sits peacefully at his desk, writing a letter. Alicia continues her surveillance, peeking over a large white vase in his office. Duke stands and walks past the vase, unaware of his hidden observer. He yanks Alicia out of the vase, demanding to know what she's doing. Trapped in the jar, she meekly claims to like small spaces. He dryly asks where she found it. He confronts her about following him all day, and she sheepishly admits he noticed. Peeking from the vase, Alicia addresses the Duke. She awkwardly asks for his help getting out. As she struggles to climb out, a nonplussed Duke asks what she thinks she's doing. He pulls her free as she explains she saw something was on his mind and wanted to help. He dismisses her concern, telling her to focus on Empress Sophia and chiding her priorities. She sadly agrees but insists she's indebted to him, recalling how he helped light the fire for her. She also remembers how he procured rare medicine for her from the East. Standing before him, she earnestly begins to explain why she wants to help. Duke listens with a solemn expression, his gaze fixed on her. He thinks to himself that as a servant, she shouldn't call him her friend. She firmly grasps his gloved hand with both of hers. Looking him in the eyes, she insists they are fighting together and should help each other. He looks away, thinking this is not a matter for her to worry about. He pulls his hand from her grasp. Alicia is left stunned and hurt by his rejection. She flashes back to seeing him go about his day with others. With a troubled but determined look, she resolves to figure out what's wrong. She recalls the moment during his meal when he didn't eat the bread. A thought bubble explains the different bread preferences between the Empire and the Argent Kingdom. She remembers that the Empire's hard, dark bread often needs to be dipped in soup. A sudden exclamation marks her moment of insight. Looking at his retreating form, she wonders if he's missing his kingdom. In the kitchen, Alicia prepares to cook with renewed vigor as her maid notes her unusual effort. The maid cheers her on, dreaming of escaping their low-tier palace life, much to Alicia's chagrin. After confirming Empress Sophia's dessert is ready, the maid curiously asks what this new dish is for. Chunks of bread soak in a glistening egg mixture. Alicia winks, explaining that a magic spell they cast earlier is about to be activated. While cooking, she decides against making kingdom-style bread, opting instead to help him enjoy the Empire's bread. She quietly reflects on her and Dayak both being outsiders in this place. Her maid triumphantly announces the dish is complete. She presents a plate of French toast, explaining she cut the hard bread into pieces to help it soak. With a determined glint in her eye, Alicia reveals the finishing touch, a beautiful bottle of syrup. Golden syrup cascades over the French toast as the maid shields her eyes in delight. Alicia laughs, happily inviting her ecstatic maid to taste the dish. The maid takes a bite of French toast. She declares it's fluffy, soft, and even better than bread soaked in soup. A close-up shows the crispy golden brown toast on her fork. Alicia explains that with a little thought, regular bread can become much tastier. The scene shifts to the empty dining hall. A hand pushes Diuk forward as he wonders what is happening. Alicia cheerfully urges him into the room. She welcomes a bewildered Diuk to a specially prepared meal, and he questions the setup. Steaming plates of French toast and bread bowl soup sit on the table. A delicious open-faced sandwich is also part of the meal. Alicia explains she made the meal hoping to help him enjoy the Empire's hard bread. Duke looks down, quietly thinking of Her Highness Alicia. She empathizes with his homesickness, encouraging him that they should stay strong together. Touched, Duke apologizes, saying he didn't expect her to go to such lengths for him. Alicia smiles brightly, reaffirming that she considers him a friend. Stunned by his reaction, she asks why he won't eat. As Duke covers his mouth, Alicia worries she'll have to create a better menu for him. She eagerly offers to make whatever he desires. Looking flustered, Duke covers his blushing face and begins to explain. He turns away, his face still red with embarrassment. He sheepishly admits he has a cavity. A flustered Alicia realizes he was just being confusing, as her maid happily munches in the background. Since avoiding treatment was not an option, a plan was made. Diak was escorted to the clinic by Elias, and the issue was resolved. Later in the garden, Alicia reflects with relief that his problem wasn't serious. She smiles, enjoying the beautiful, sunny day. Russell. She walks through the garden, carrying a basket. She holds up a glass jar filled with beautiful gem-like candies. The candies are identified as Kohakudo, as she wonders if Lady Sophia and Mr. Dominique will like them. Holding the jar aloft, she hopes her gift will please them. The camera focuses on a bush of vibrant, sparkling pink roses. A gardener in a straw hat tends to the roses as Alicia happily calls out to him. She waves, explaining she brought a thank you gift for sharing the roses. The gardener, Mr. Dominique, stands silently, holding his shears. Russell. He begins to remove his hat, and a confused Alicia watches. As his hat comes off, revealing light blue hair, she stares in shock, realizing who he is. The scene transitions with a sparkling blue branch. She recognizes the man's face and gasps, "His Majesty Clifford?" Her eyes widen in utter disbelief as she struggles to speak. Her mind reels as she realizes the gardener, Mr. Dominique, is the Emperor himself. She directly asks the man with light blue hair if he is His Majesty. He opens his eyes and quietly confirms that he is. Her thoughts race, questioning why the Emperor would disguise himself to tend a garden. A thought strikes her with sudden clarity. She remembers that this very garden was created for Empress Sophia. A vision shows him as the gardener, placing roses on his mother's sickbed. Alicia's eyes soften as she thinks he's a clumsy person. She realizes the rumors of a cold-blooded emperor must be false. Standing amidst the flowers, She tells him he is a warm person. With his back to her, Clifford denies it, stating, "I'm not warm." Alicia tells him he also regrets the succession disputes. She continues, saying his regret proves he cares, and recalling how he helped her. Squeeze. She takes his hand, thanking him for everything he has done. Surrounded by flowers, Alicia smiles warmly at the gardener as they hold hands. He pulls his hand away, stating he only came to thank her for helping his mother, and that he is not the person she believes him to be. As he turns away, he asks if she knows Sir Evans, flashing back to her standing with Empress Sophia. Alicia watches him go, thinking she can't call him gardener forever, as a man with brown hair and glasses appears in her thoughts. With a worried expression, she asks if his behavior is because of the Sir Dominique von Evans incident. Clifford's blue eye glints with cold determination. In a flashback, a noblewoman introduces a young brown-haired Dominique as Sir Evans' child to a young Clifford. The boy introduces himself as Dominique, kneeling and pledging his absolute loyalty. Young Clifford looks on silently as Dominique bows before him. During a training session, a wooden sword is knocked from young Clifford's grasp as he falls. Clifford recalls being wary of Dominique, but quickly realizing his talent as his rival declares victory. He reflects on Dominique's superior swordsmanship. He remembers Dominique excelling in his studies while he struggled. He recalls Dominique's social grace, narrating that the only thing he could defeat him in was magic. Clifford reflects on keeping his heart closed, believing the palace was a place of constant betrayal. A group of riders gives chase across a grassy field. Dominique and Clifford pursue a small white animal on horseback. Clifford aims a rifle as someone cries out for "Your Highness" in a panic. A bright flash signifies a shot has been fired. The scene shifts to birds flying over a distant, wooded mountain. Suddenly, their horse rears, and Dominique is thrown, a bloody wound appearing on his chest. Thump. Dominique hits the ground hard as Clifford watches with a T-esque. A mysterious hooded figure with a rifle appears as Clifford is ordered to stop him. Gritting his teeth, Clifford unleashes a powerful blast of ice magic. The cloaked figure flees as Clifford vows he won't escape. Clifford spurs his horse onward, determined to catch the attacker. Dismounting, he rushes to Dominique, who lies injured on the grass. An injured Dominique urges Lord Clifford to pursue the culprit, but Clifford tells him to be quiet, promising to get him to a healer. A horse gallops through the snow at full speed. Carrying Dominique, Clifford chides him for his unnecessary sacrifice, but Dominique insists it is his duty to protect him. Clifford's expression is grim and determined as he rides. The attacker is shown wounded and then captured by royal guards. In the present, Clifford stands beside Dominique, thinking that he once trusted him. He recalls protecting Dominique with his magic, acknowledging him as a friend. The memory shifts to the Emperor collapsing from illness, triggering the struggle for the throne. A bolt of lightning cracks across a dark sky. Looking out a rain-streaked window, a young Clifford resolves to aim for the throne. He asks Dominique if he will follow him, and Dominique kneels, pledging his allegiance. As a sign of their bond, Clifford presents Dominique with a magnificent red jewel pendant. Dominique accepts it, reflecting that he must show his loyalty in return for this symbol of trust. He vows to follow the future emperor, magically transforming a rose into a gift of diamonds. A single red rose is held against the stormy window. An explanation reveals the tradition of jewels began with this oath, as a vision shows Dominique being led to the guillotine. Clifford recalls executing his brothers and rivals, cementing his reputation as the cold-blooded emperor as he sits on a blood-stained throne. HMPH. Back in the present, Clifford walks impassively through a party, ignoring the whispers and glares of the nobles. As he walks away, someone calls out his name. A man with blonde hair approaches Clifford from behind, placing a hand on his shoulder. A man whispers an urgent secret into another's ear. He leans in closer, insisting the secret must be heard. The confidential message is passed in a hushed whisper. Bam! A gloved hand slams a damning report onto a desk. The red-haired aide, Dominique, begs the silver-haired emperor to deny the report's contents. The emperor, Clifford, gravely confirms that the information is unfortunately true. Dominique realizes the mastermind is a family member who used his own leaked information to oppose Clifford. When Clifford asks if he knew, Dominique closes his eyes and firmly denies it. He admits the information leak was his fault, but insists he knew nothing of a rebellion. Dominique claims he simply let his guard down, and Clifford calmly states, "I believe you." Clifford trusts him completely, though a narration reveals Dominique had become involved without his knowledge. Thinking of Lord Clifford, Dominique internally reaffirms his own honesty. Dominique insists they must act fast to root out all traitors before more can emerge. Clifford agrees grimly, as Dominique vows that not a single conspirator will be forgiven. In that moment, the true, chilling meaning of his words becomes terrifyingly clear. A dreadful realization dawns on Clifford as he whispers, "Dominique, you didn't." Dominique pleads that forgiving him would fail to set the necessary example for the others. With grim resolve, he insists that if a purge is to happen, it must be thorough. Clifford stares back, utterly speechless and conflicted by his aide's sacrifice. The narration recalls dealing with the rebels and seizing the throne under the shadow of the guillotine. The scene returns to the present day, with the Emperor walking alongside Alicia in his gardener's disguise. He silently vows that Dominique's noble sacrifice will not be in vain. Alicia finally understands the painful truth behind the reputation of the cold-blooded Emperor. A warm memory of Dominique's kind and gentle smile flashes through her mind. She realizes his tragic past is why he can't bring himself to trust or keep anyone close. As he walks alone through a field of light, she concludes that he is a truly lonely person. Alicia addresses him as Your Majesty, and sincerely thanks him for sharing his story. She reflects that no matter his past, the fact that he helped her remains unchanged. Suddenly stepping closer, she insists he is not a cold-hearted person, no matter what he believes. Touched by her sincerity, he is left utterly at a loss for words. She then offers him a glass jar filled with colorful, jewel-like candies. He accepts the jar as she voices her hope that he will try one. Alicia beams at him with a warm and encouraging smile. He silently looks down at the jar, contemplating her simple, kind gesture. He takes out a single, shimmering red candy, holding it up to the light. Admiring its beauty, he finds it reminiscent of a ruby brooch he once saw. He holds the small, gem-like candy aloft as Alicia quietly watches him. He tastes it, surprised to find it sweet and much softer than a real jewel. Alicia confirms, explaining it's a jelly snack made from a special kind of seaweed. She proudly describes its sweet, soft, and chewy texture as he listens intently. She adds that the snack is naturally sweetened with maple syrup from sugar maples. She finishes her explanation with a bright and happy yes. She excitedly proposes that mass-producing the maple syrup could greatly benefit the Empire's economy. Her business pitch is met with a sudden, serious stare that makes her nervous. Flustered by his intense gaze, she can only manage a confused, "Huh?" His serious expression breaks into a small, knowing smirk. When she asks what he means, he simply turns away and replies, "I mean it literally." He then pulls a pair of small garden shears from his tool pouch. As Alicia watches in confusion, he carefully snips a perfect red rose from a nearby bush. His gloved hand extends, offering her the single perfect rose. Swish. A startled Clifford feels Alicia's hand on his head as she wonders what's happening. Alicia looks confused, thinking she should repay him for his kindness. A soft blush spreads across Clifford's face as he turns away. Alicia gazes thoughtfully, surrounded by a magical floral aura. They stand together as a quiet, sparkling energy envelops them. Alicia smiles brightly, and Clifford returns her gaze with a soft smile of his own. She remembers she also planned to give Empress Sophia some kohakudo. When she invites him along, a hesitant Clifford refuses, saying he can't go in his gardener's outfit. Alicia urges him to use this as a chance for reconciliation, grabbing his hand to pull him along. She drags a protesting Clifford with her, ignoring his pleas to wait. They run through the sunlit garden together. Watching from the shadows, a blonde noblewoman seethes with rage, muttering, "That girl." Her foot crushes fallen rose petals, symbolizing her anger. Later, Alicia checks on her baking, asking if everything is ready. A tray of perfectly baked crackers emerges from the oven, and she expresses her satisfaction. Duke arrives, reminding Alicia to get ready, and she's surprised by how late it has gotten. She explains she's prepared baked snacks as gifts for the other royal consorts. Duke questions her motive for sending the gifts. With a gentle smile, Alicia explains she simply wants to get along with everyone. Duke looks on, silently processing her words. He understands and agrees to arrange for the gifts to be delivered to each palace. At a gathering, a noble couple greets Alicia, mentioning they've heard of her achievements. Standing beside Duke in a grand hall, Alicia greets everyone with a smile. She reflects happily on how much people's treatment of her has changed. As she walks through the hall, a group of men now follows her respectfully. She waves cheerfully, Thinking about how her influence in the healing house has grown, she notes that even her former objectors have fallen silent. The scene transitions from the palace to a beautiful, sun-drenched garden with a gazebo. The camera lingers on the vibrant tulips and roses blooming in the garden. Dressed elegantly, Alicia addresses the Emperor, "Your Majesty Clifford." Clifford, dressed in a white uniform, replies that he hasn't been waiting long. She approaches him with a bright, happy smile. They share a warm, smiling glance amidst falling petals. Alicia greets him again with an overjoyed expression. She lifts a picnic basket, announcing she has prepared snacks and tea for him. Clifford looks slightly taken aback, but acknowledges her offer. Golden tea is poured from an ornate glass teapot. The fragrant tea fills a set of beautiful blue and white teacups. As they sit, Alicia expresses concern that he works so hard, his lights never seem to go off at night. Clifford explains that with such a vast empire, there are endless mountains of work. Alicia looks at him with admiration, telling him he is truly a kind person. She offers him a special cup, explaining it's a herbal tea made with chamomile. Clifford asks about chamomile, wondering if it's a flower. Alicia confirms that it is, explaining its medicinal and calming properties that can aid sleep. He takes a thoughtful sip from the cup. Holding the cup, he remarks on the tea's sweet scent. Noticing his contemplative expression, Alicia worries if the tea isn't to his taste. With a small, genuine smile, Clifford reassures her that he likes it. Alicia beams with relief and happiness. She then offers him another snack, biscuits topped with cottage cheese. Alicia presents a cracker spread with a white cheese, explaining it's a perfect high-protein snack. Holding the cracker, Clifford asks if it contains maple syrup, but she clarifies it's just cheese. She then demonstrates how to drizzle golden maple syrup over the cheese. After taking a bite, Alicia declares it's delicious with the added syrup. She thinks to herself that the combination is truly very delicious. Clifford looks thoughtfully at a small dish of syrup as Alicia smiles, and he murmurs, "I see." After trying it himself, he holds up the cracker and agrees it is definitely delicious. Alicia advises him that better sleep improves recovery, and that health is the most important thing. Sitting with her in the garden, Clifford listens to her advice and promises to try his best. He asks if mass production of the syrup is possible, and she confidently affirms that it is. However, she adds the caveat that sap collection is limited to a short period in winter. Clifford thoughtfully concludes that the syrup she possesses is currently the only supply available. Alicia outlines the next steps, explaining they need to survey the Empire's maples and assess labor needs. She inwardly considers other sweeteners, like sugar beets and honey, but notes their current limitations. She resolves that establishing maple syrup production will require significant environmental reorganization. The purple-haired Duke approaches, wanting to discuss the introduction of nurses with the Emperor, who permits it. The Duke privately scoffs, wondering if Alicia believes these business-like discussions will win her the Empress's seat. With a faint, determined smile, he thinks to himself, really. The scene changes violently as a sword is plunged downward, splattering blood. The sword has been driven through a gift box as a voice coldly asks if they take him for a fool. A furious blonde woman with red eyes grips a dagger, vowing to make the Empress of Bezel Palace's life hell. The scene transitions to the Grand Garnet Palace, under a starry night sky. A brown-haired man stands with a nervous young woman, confirming their arrival at the palace. He reassures the woman, Lady Susanna, telling her that as an empress, she is magnificent and should be confident. Taking his words to heart, Susanna musters a confident smile. Creak. A heavy door begins to open before them. A maid greets Lady Susanna, confirming her identity and informing her that everyone is waiting inside. The maid leads Susanna and her companion up a grand golden staircase. They finally arrive at a pair of massive, ornate doors. Inside, a lavish party is underway, with all the empresses gathered around a long, elegant table. The blonde woman from the earlier vision greets them, welcoming them to the Garnet Palace. She raises her glass with a warm, welcoming smile. Susanna curtsies politely, thanking the woman for the invitation. The blonde hostess invites her to sit, noting that the party has already begun. Feeling out of place, Susanna worries that as the lapis lazuli empress, she's just a guest. Her companion, Frederick, comforts her, but she tells him she's fine. Sitting alone at the vast table, Susanna quietly wishes Alicia were there with her. One of the other consorts starts a conversation, asking if everyone else received it as well. As an image of a red gift bag flashes, Susanna realizes they're discussing the sweets sent by Alicia. Two ladies gossip maliciously, accusing the wicked woman of trying to bribe them with sweets. Others express doubt that sweets can be made without sugar, until the blonde hostess asks if they've tried them. With a look of utter disgust, the hostess claims she immediately threw away such vulgar food. The other consorts quickly chime in, feigning agreement that they would never do something so undignified. The blonde hostess smirks, reinforcing her disdain for food made by the Empress of Bezel Palace. The other women scramble to agree, making excuses about throwing the gift away or giving it to servants. The hostess thinks venomously about the consort from the enemy nation, using schemes to win over the emperor. The other women look on with expressions of fear and unease. Susanna recalls that the hostess is Lady Wendy, whose high rank is due solely to her powerful family's influence. Realizing no one dares oppose her, Susanna flinches as Lady Wendy calls her name with a cruel smile. From her seat at the head of the table, Lady Wendy confronts Susanna, accusing her of associating with Alicia. At a tense gathering, a blonde woman tells the other consorts she isn't there to scold them. Peeking over her fan, she slyly suggests there are ways for them to take action. A brown-haired woman asks what she means, just as the blonde woman's fan snaps shut with a sharp crack. With a sinister smile, she proposes tampering with the pastries made by consort Alicia. The brown-haired woman is horrified and speechless at the suggestion. In disbelief, she asks if she is being told to betray Lady Alicia. She recalls how Alicia saved her, saved Frederick, and became her only friend. The blonde woman presses on, questioning if she'll let an enemy princess take the Empress's seat. The brown-haired woman hesitates, clearly conflicted by the manipulative words. The blonde woman reminds her of the Piaron family's interests and offers her father's political aid. Shocked by the blatant bribe, the brown-haired woman breaks into a cold sweat. The blonde woman grins triumphantly, confident her offer will be accepted. The brown-haired woman looks down, her expression hardening with resolve. A vision of Alicia's kind and trusting smile flashes through her mind. "I can't do it," she declares, stunning the blonde woman who demands she repeat herself. With a resolute motion, she stands from her chair. "I said I can't do it." She declares that her family prides itself on being guardians, and that betraying a friend would bring them shame. Turning her back on the consorts, she walks away as a man with brown hair waits for her. At the head of the table, the blonde woman's rage intensifies until her fan shatters in her grip. Electric blue energy crackles around her as her eyes glow with fury. The man comforts the shaken woman, who gratefully thanks him for his support. As they ascend the grand staircase, she admits her hands are still trembling. Zap. A sudden flash of yellow energy strikes the stairs as she looks back in shock. The marble step beneath her foot crumbles into pieces. She screams as she falls, and the man cries out her name, Lady Susanna. Thump! She lands unconscious at the bottom of the shattered staircase as he rushes to her side. The scene shifts to a warm kitchen, where Alicia happily prepares a recipe. From a shadowy doorway, the enraged blonde woman glares, muttering Alicia's name. With a look of pure malice, she vows that Alicia will pay for this. Later, Alicia concludes a deal with a merchant from the east, thanking him for his wares. The merchant expresses his gladness that Eastern medicine is proving useful in the empire. Alicia agrees, noting that the limited number of healers makes medicine a vital resource. She shares her dream of showing that medicine can save lives even without magic. Flustered by her praise, the merchant calls it too generous. Alicia secretly worries that she must become empress or face exile. Though she's grown closer to the emperor, she still can't picture herself as empress. The merchant bids her farewell and begins to depart with his goods. He stops, offering her a bag of rare fruit as a gift, leaving her puzzled. He holds up a single dark brown bean from the bag. A maid with short brown hair examines the bean, asking Alicia what it is. Alicia explains that they're cacao beans, which have powerful calming effects. Winking, she adds that they can prevent disease and even have anti-aging properties. Anti-aging? The maid shouts in utter astonishment, her eyes wide. Alicia cautions that the effects aren't instant, but the maid excitedly claims her skin has already improved from Alicia's snacks. The maid gushes that the results feel like magic. Alicia agrees her skin looks better, and the maid asks how one eats the mysterious beans. Holding one aloft, Alicia announces her plan to make chocolate, confusing the maid. She begins explaining the process, starting with roasting and crushing the cacao beans. Next, she explains, sugar is added before the mixture is ground into a smooth paste. The process continues by tempering the molten chocolate on a marble countertop. And voila! The mixture is transformed into a bowl of sweet, delicious chocolate. The short-haired maid stares at the dark concoction, skeptically wondering if it's truly sweet. Alicia cheerfully offers a plate of fresh strawberries, leaving the maid confused. With a giggle, Alicia demonstrates how to dip a strawberry into the sparkling chocolate. She takes the first bite, savoring the taste with a look of pure satisfaction. After Alicia declares it delicious, the maid eagerly decides she wants to try it too. The maid closes her eyes and takes her first bite of the chocolate-covered strawberry. Her eyes fly open in delight as she praises the rich, thick, and perfectly balanced flavor. Alicia smiles warmly, explaining that chocolate is best enjoyed when shared with everyone. The maids happily gather around to enjoy the delicious new treat together. The maid's happy chatter is interrupted by the appearance of a stern new maid. With a cool and distant gaze, the new maid confirms that she has just arrived. Alicia warmly welcomes the newcomer and kindly offers her some chocolate. Alicia then opens an icebox, given to her by the Empress for storing treats. She pulls out a tray of perfectly chilled, almond-topped chocolates and tries one, pleased with her work. Diak appears in the doorway, informing Alicia that the healer wishes to discuss the treatment center. Realizing the time, Alicia agrees to head to the meeting right away. As Alicia departs, the other maids watch her go, but the new maid simply stares ahead. The new maid's gaze darkens as she stares down at one of the almond chocolates with a sinister expression. The scene shifts to a bright, sunny day outside the palace. A fragrant red tea is poured into an elegant blue and white teacup. In the tranquil garden, Alicia and Emperor Clifford enjoy tea served by Duke. Alicia presents another homemade treat to Clifford, who notes her frequent baking. With a radiant smile, she offers him a beautifully wrapped purple gift box. Clifford calmly sips his tea before accepting her thoughtful gift. He opens the box to reveal almond chocolates, a treat he has never seen before. He tries a piece, intrigued by the unique bittersweet taste. Alicia explains the cacao beans are used as medicine, which makes Clifford doubt their healing properties. She smiles confidently, assuring him that when taken correctly, they are indeed medicinal. Alicia explains that just as some things, like poisonous mushrooms, harm the body, other things act as medicine to make it healthier. She humbly admits that she makes all her treats with the sincere hope of improving people's health. Hearing this, Clifford quietly reflects that he has been sleeping much better recently. He gently places a hand on her head, realizing he's also felt less tired lately. Looking into her surprised eyes, he concludes that her treats must have acted as medicine for him. The tender moment shatters as Clifford suddenly collapses forward, Alicia crying out his name. As Clifford falls, a mysterious figure in a dark cloak appears behind Alicia. Thump! Clifford lies unconscious on the ground as Alicia screams his name in horror.